Hey, what's up? Welcome to a new video. So I'm not sure what I'm naming this video. I think I do actually. I think I'm naming this giving the ACOTAR Thorns and Roses series a second chance. So let's get into a little like background information. Okay, so A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. So this book came out, hold on, I have receipts, in 2015. Right. So when this book was first coming out, it was being like pitched as a Beauty and the Beast reimagining. And if you guys don't know, I love Beauty and the Beast. Beauty and the Beast 1991 animation movie is my favorite movie. I was obsessed with it as a child. And so much so that my mom had to buy me the VHS like multiple times because I would watch it so much that the VHS would get damaged, and then she'll have to buy me a new one. I have a whole Beauty and the Beast like shelf on top of my bookshelves. I'm obsessed with Beauty and the Beast. So when I heard that this was a Beauty and the Beast reimagining, I was like, oh, I have to pick it up. And my battery's dying, so I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. So yeah, so once I heard that this was a Beauty and the Beast reimagining, I was like, oh, I want to pick it up, right? So then, this was, I was just, in 2015, I was just getting more into reading, and it's more specifically getting into fantasies. I was like just starting to read fantasies in that year. So I ended up picking this up in October, around October 7th. I had to look at my Goodreads. Around October 7th, to be precise, October 7th, 2015, right? So because I was just getting to, this is what I'm thinking now, because I was just getting to fantasies, it took me so long to read this. Like, it says that I shelved this or started reading this October 7, 2015, and I didn't finish it until December 27, 2015. So it took me a while to finish this. I read it physically, I didn't have the audiobook. And like I keep saying, I was just starting to get into fantasies, so I wasn't used to like just the fantasy genre, you know. I wasn't used to like world building and all that stuff. So this genre was new to me. So I read this in 2015, and then I'm guessing A Court of Mist and Fury came out in 2016, and I did buy the original hardcover book of A Court of Mist and Fury. And this is when I became dumb. I started reading Court of Mist and Fury, and then I got like maybe like 100 pages in, I think. And then I was like, I don't feel like reading this, so I put it down. And then eventually I sold the book, the original, like the matching hardcover of A Court of Mist and Fury. I sold it for not a lot, not even like half of what I originally paid for it. I was stupid to be honest. So now when I'm like, I want to sell books or like unhaul books, I'm like scared, because I'm like, I want to make at least like 50% back of that book. And I made like, what, I sold a few books that day and I made like $4. Don't be me, guys. Don't be me. Learn from my mistakes and either donate your books to somewhere that they would be appreciated, or I'm not gonna say where I sold it to. It was a store, like a physical bookstore. They do not give a lot back, and that book was pretty much in like new condition. And like I said, I gave a few books and I only got $4. I should have just taken my books back and sold it like somewhere else or something. Because anyways, that's for tangent like over. Anyways, back to this. So my friend Carlani, she decided like recently that she wants to read the ACOTAR Thorns and Roses series. So I was like, oh, let's fun, that'll be fun, let's like buddy read kind of. Okay, so I bought the paperbacks of all the books that are currently out, and we're gonna like butter read. I'm gonna insert the clip now of when I unboxed it. So yeah, so I'm going, my friend already started. I'm actually going to be doing the audiobook because yeah, so Recorded Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. This is like, the font first off is tiny and it's kind of stiff, so I'm gonna do that thing when you open it, like a few pages on each side, and like slowly like break the spine a little bit. So yeah, anyways, I'm gonna start this soonish, and yeah, so yeah, let's see if the second time around I like this better. I kind of feel like I will, because I've read more fantasies since then, so I kind of feel like I will enjoy this more, but we'll see. This is giving the ACOTAR Thorns and Roses series a second chance. Let's see what happens. Hey, so I want to do an update on ACOTAR Thorns and Roses since I'm at the halfway mark. Basically, I didn't really explain how this video is gonna work, mainly because I didn't know how it was gonna work. Basically, I think for book one, I'm trying to, this video is gonna be like talking about all the books. Hopefully, depending on how long this video ends up being. But like for this book, I'm just gonna do 2 updates. So one is right now the halfway mark, and then the second one will be once I'm finished. And then I'll divide the other books into like different sections too. But this isn't really like a reading vlog. It's more just like kind of like how Gavin from How You Train Your Gavin does his series vlogs, where he just like updates on his thoughts as he does it, like after he finishes each book. He doesn't update. Sometimes he may do like updates in between, but if you see one of his like series videos, then you know what I'm talking about, and that's the vibe I'm going with for this video. And this is gonna be filled with spoilers, so if you haven't read the series, then I suggest you don't watch this video, because I'm gonna talk spoilers. Anyways, let's get to like my update. So yeah, I'm halfway into the book. I'm on page 208, chapter 23. So I basically read that half in 2 days. I started on Sunday, and then read the other part on Monday. So thoughts so far, this is going, I'm listening to the audiobooks. I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but it's going way faster than it did the first time I read this. So yes, I'm not sure if it's because I'm listening to the audiobook or it's because I've read more fantasy stories since then, so I'm used to fantasy, you know. So I'm not sure what it is, but it is going way faster than I remember it going the first time. And oh yeah, but at the same time saying that, I'm just like I'm waiting to get to the under the mountain situation, because that's when things I know really start picking up and things starts happening, and we get to see okay, I won't say that just yet, but yeah, that's the part where I know things starts picking up, and I'm excited to get to like the real action of the story. But yeah, I remember this one scene with freaking Feyre and Tamlin, where first off, Tamlin and Lucian both tell Feyre when this whole, I forgot what it's called, the event thing, Fire Night, I forgot the actual name of it, but the Fire Night thing happened. They tell her, lock yourself in your room, do not come out until tomorrow. And of course she like goes. And I remember reading it the first time being just like, why? Like, and I annotated that part. He tells her, Tamlin tells her literally 4 times in one page, don't go. Okay, so the part that I highlighted, this is all in the same page. He says, go to your chamber, he snarled, and glanced toward the fires. Lock your doors, set up a snare, whatever you do. Then it says, because she's like, why? And then she's like, just do it. Don't come out until morning. Then it says, stay in your chamber, Feyre. And then he says, please. And then she kind of listens at first, but then she's like, and it says, by 10 o'clock, I could no longer stand it. I followed the drums. And of course, she gets into trouble. She runs into someone. And I can't remember if that's Reese. Can't remember. But we'll see what happens as I continue reading the book. I can't remember if that's Reese or not. And she ran into it at the Fire Night. But then also I do want to talk about like how, yes, Tamlin told her and Lucian told her not to go to the Fire Night situation, right? But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, she should have listened. Because obviously they were telling her not to go for a good reason. But at the same time, they probably should have explained a little bit more why they were telling her not to go, you know. And maybe then she wouldn't have gone, but you know, that's part of the story, so whatever. Also, because I didn't mention this before, I thinking that I was like, oh, I'm never gonna read the series anyways, so I watched a few, mainly Jodie's from Vanilla Moon, her spoiler blogs on the series, so I know some things that happened. So I'm also like, oh yeah, so they say a lot like cauldron, like they use it like a curse word or like a slang word, I guess, I don't know. But they say it a lot, and I keep like highlighting and circling it because I'm like, I know that eventually later on in the series, one of Feyre's sisters, Nesta, gets thrown into a cauldron, and I'm like, is that like foreshadowing that, or like is there more to the cauldron than I thought the first time I read this? So yeah, there's that. Talking about her sisters, Yeah, Nessa seems like a bitch. And I'm actually excited to get to A Court of Silver Flames, just to see like what exactly is her backstory and why she does certain things that she does, because I know like certain things are explained. Doesn't completely, I know it doesn't completely excuse the things that she did and does and says, but I'm intrigued to get to that. Also, I'm also intrigued to see, because the first time I read this, I only started the second book the first time, so I'm not 100% sure when the switch happens. I mean, I guess like some people automatically from this don't like Tamlin, but I'm intrigued to see like what is it that he does that makes everybody say like, oh, he's trash. Because I've heard like one thing, but I feel like there has to be more to it, that people are just like, no, he's a horrible person, well, fairy, and he's a like horrible, like he's horrible, he's like trash. So I'm really interested to see like what he does that makes people be like, yo, no, he ain't it. So yeah, there was something else I wanted to say. Okay, so yeah, that's my update for now. I'm not sure when I'm gonna get back to this, because yeah, I'm not sure. I didn't read anything today. Maybe I'll read a little bit more tomorrow. So my pacing is gonna like slow down from now, just because I have to work the rest of the week, so my pacing is gonna slow down. But yeah, I'm excited to continue reading this and finally get to Under the Mountain, because like I said, that's what I've been waiting for. But yeah, that's my update from now, and I'll update you guys again once I've actually finished the book. I'm here for my second and last update on A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. I finished this like last weekend, so it's been like almost a week. I think it was it Monday? I don't know. I finished it like almost a week ago. I have my notes, so let's get started on pretty much the review on the second half of the book, and then the book overall. Maybe I'll leave it here. Can you see it? Okay, so maybe I'll start off with overall thoughts. Okay, so I did enjoy this book more than I did the first time I read it. The first time I read this, when this book first came out, I wasn't into fantasy. I didn't understand the whole fairy situation, or just like fantasy in general. So now that I'm a seasoned veteran of reading fantasies, I understand them more, and I understand like what goes on in them, and just like I haven't read like a lot of like fairy books besides this one, I think, but I now understand what it is, because the first time I read this, I'm like, fairy, what I thought about what a fairy looked like was Tinkerbell, you know? So them being described as like these like bigger creatures, I was like, I don't understand. Like, I thought they were like Tinkerbell, you know? So now I understand that more. So yeah. Oh, pacing wise, it did feel like it moved faster. can't 100% say be sure if it's just because I'm more into fantasy now, or if it's because I listened to the audiobook, or maybe it was something to do with both. Because remember the first time I read this, like the parts of her getting to Prithian, I felt like took forever, and it took like 2-3 chapters. So I don't know where I got that idea from, but it did. The pacing seemed like really slow, and just like everything moved like pretty fast. Okay, so what I want to talk about is the whole Tamlin versus Rhysand situation. Okay, so again, once I read completely the second book, I may understand more. I hope that things are like cleared up and explained, because at this point it's not like I don't want to it's not like I'm team Tamlin, but I'm not team Rhysand either, because again, maybe like once I get to know him more, things will make sense. But I feel like a lot of things that he did do some things that were like good, but then he did do say things to Feyre that I was like, what the hell? Like, how is that? How are people like, oh yeah, Rhysand, when he's said and done things to Feyre that were questionable? Okay, so I have examples. Okay, let's start off with, okay, and then also I want to point out that a lot of times when Rhys does things that it's like something like I'm gonna go like say pro or con. That's like pro, he automatically like in the next page does something that's like a con. So I'm gonna start off at page 239. Okay, so in this situation, he's like trying to like, Rhys is like trying to warn Feyre about Tamlin and saying like, oh, like these people are bad, right? So if you're trying to like warn someone about like, oh look, like be careful with them, like obviously it's a good thing, right? So he says, if you were wise, you will be screaming and running from this place, from these people. It's a wonder that you're still here, actually. But then in the next page, he literally says, look at how delightful she is. Look how she's trying to not cry in terror. It would be quick, I promise. And like the line right before that, he says, I've forgotten that human minds are so easy to shatter as eggshells. The next like pro, page 310, it's when Feyre is under the mountain, and basically Rhys knew what Feyre looked like, and he was like, he pretended that it was like that other girl, that the fake name that Feyre gave. And he's like, and Miranda was like, is this the girl you saw at Tamlin's estate? He's like, I suppose. But did you or did you not tell me that girl? And Miranda said, her tone sharpening as she pointed to Claire, was the one you saw. And then he says, humans all look alike to me. So he was protecting Feyre by saying like Claire was Feyre when he knew she wasn't. So let's go to another pro, 331. I'm going in order. Okay, so I'll heal your arm in exchange for you. How was that a pro? I don't understand now. Okay, let's just read it. I'll heal your arm in exchange for you for 2 weeks every month. 2 weeks of me choosing you live. You'll live with me at the night court, starting after this messy 3 trials business. Okay, but that is a pro, I guess, because he was healing her arm, but you know, it was like a deal that they had to make, which it's like he technically could have healed her arm without being like, oh, you need to stay with me for 2 weeks every month, you know? Let's go to 348, 349. Okay, so he gets this line that says, I think this is when he put her in like that barely of a dress situation, and he's like, I don't like my belongings tampered with. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think anybody was around when he said that. So it's like, why did you have to say that? I don't get it. Then the next page, it says, Reason had said that he wanted to tell him at the right moment that he wanted to hurt Tamlin by revealing the bargain I'd made. Prick. So basically, she already made the deal with him that she was gonna go live with him. I think they settled on a week every 1 week every month. And like, I mean, that's not really a con. It's just like, whatever. Like, my thinking is that like these dudes can dislike each other all they want, as long as they're not disrespectful to like Pharaoh, which I feel like they are. So there's that. 356. And don't worry, I'll get to Tamlin. Okay, so it says 356 says, taunting him is my greatest pleasure, he said with a mock bow. And as for your question, why does any male need a reason to enjoy the presence of a female? Like, I don't understand that line either. Like, why was that necessary? I don't understand. And like I said like a little bit ago, a lot of these conversations, a lot of these things that he says, it's just to Farah. Like, someone like this disgusting lines he just says to Farah. It's not like anybody is around, so he's like putting up a front in front of other people. He's just in front of Farah, so I don't get why he's like saying these things, you know. 366. Okay, so I can't remember after this was after one of the trials, where he's like raises in Farah's mind. He's like telling her, don't let her see you cry. Put your hands on your sides and stand up. Stand. Don't give her the satisfaction of seeing you break. I looked at Amarantha with tearless eyes. Good. Stare her down. No tears. Wait until you're back in your cell. Count to 10. Don't look at Tamlin. Just stare at her. Good girl. Now walk away. Turn on your heel. Good. Walk toward the door. Keep your chin high. Let the crowd part, one step after another. So obviously, like, he's like coaching her, like telling her to like be brave. Well, like, not be brave, but like, don't show your emotions on like the outside. Don't let Amarantha know that she's like hurting and broken, and just, you know, like put up a strong face. So obviously that's con. A pro, I meant. So let's go to 369. Another con. He says, I'll spare you the escort duties tomorrow, he said, shrugging as he walked to the cell door. But the night after, I expect you to be looking your finest. He gave me a grin that suggested my finest wasn't very much at all. He paused by the door, but didn't dissolve into darkness. I've been thinking of ways to torment you when you come to my court. I'm wondering, will assigning you to learn to read be as painful as it looked today? Like, after he like did like this good thing with like being in her mind and telling her to like put up a brave front and whatever, he like says that to her. And I'm telling you, every time it's not around other people where it's like he's trying to put up a front to be like, oh yeah, like F humans or whatever, or like F her or whatever. There's nobody around. At least to my knowledge right now, there's nobody around. So I don't understand why he's like saying these gross things to her. One last pro at 382. Okay, so there's he like shows up at her cell, at Farah's cell, and he's like and it says, the swagger and nastiness were gone because I'm tired and lonely, and you're the only person I can talk to without putting myself at risk. He let out a low laugh. How absurd. A high lord of Perthian and then she was like, you can leave. She was like, you can leave if you're going to insult me. Okay, I'm just gonna read what I highlighted. So it says, why do you think I'm doing this? He waved a hand to me. Because you're a monster. He laughed. True, but I'm also a what? A pragamist. But when Tamlin saw my tattoo on your arm, oh, you should have been born with my abilities, if only to have felt the rage that sped the seeds from him. And then we learned that Tamlin, that Rhysand's father killed Tamlin's father and Tamlin's brothers. It says that whatever. So okay, so like in that little scene, he's like opening up to her and like telling her like things about what happened in the past. And like, honestly, for Tamlin, I don't have any cons besides the fact that maybe he could have explained to her a little bit more about what was going on without telling her the complete truth. Like the whole fire night situation thing, maybe he could have like explained a little bit more what would happen. But honestly, I feel like even if like him or Lucien had explained to Feyre like, oh, like he doesn't have any control over like what he's doing, even if Feyre knew that, I feel like Feyre still would have like left her room and wouldn't have listened to them when they asked her repeatedly not to leave her room that night, you know. And then I have Tamlin Prose 240, which is, so it says, don't tell Amarantha about her. Tamlin talking to Rhys. He's like, don't tell Amarantha about her. Tamlin said, his voice strained. And then Rhys is like, they're gonna consider not telling Amarantha. And then he's, yeah. Which that was another, I mean, there wasn't anything towards Feyre, but it was like really? You're gonna do that? In 243, that's when Tamlin decides, even though obviously the curse isn't broken, the spell isn't broken, he decides to send Feyre home, even though it's gonna hurt him and his entire court. And then 353, oh, so basically Lucien tells Feyre there's no spell, well, because Feyre thinks that Amarantha has him under a spell because he's like not reacting to anything that's happening. But then Lucien says there's no spell. Hasn't occurred to you that Tamlin is keeping quiet to avoid telling Amarantha which form of your torment affects him most? So like obviously, you know, that's a pro. Like he's like keeping himself together to not show like his emotions of when Feyre is being tormented, because then that gives Amarantha power to know what is hurting Tamlin the most as well, like his reactions, you know. Okay, and I'm just gonna read off this note because I've been touching on this while I've been doing this update. But what I wrote was that I want to know more about Rhys and why he acts the way he does. Most of his interactions with Feyre, he does something nice and then backpedals and says something gross to her. I don't get it. I get if he's putting up a front in front of other people, but when they are alone, I don't know why. I don't know why he says some gross things to her, which yeah, I don't understand that. I will completely understand it was in front of other people, so that, and then he's putting up a front. But a lot of these things he does it when there's nobody around, so I really don't understand. And then I also said that Tamlin obviously does really care about Feyre, and he does things that shows he does, and I gave those examples. And then I also said, put down why should Feyre be afraid of the spring court, as Rhys says. Yeah, so I want to know if that goes more into, let's explain more in the second book and the history of all the different courts and why Rhys is saying that Feyre should be afraid to be in the spring court. I was also focusing a lot on like what was happening with Nesta, just because I know that A Court of Silver Flames is from Nesta's point of view. So I just said wrote down about the fact that the glamour didn't work on her. She knew exactly what happened to Farrah. She went looking for Farrah. And then I said, kind of explains why she acts the way she, well, in the book it explains why she acts the way that she does, but doesn't completely excuse her behavior. Page 265 to 66. Well, one of the things that I found interesting about Nesta is the fact that she didn't do much because when they were like poor, because she knew that Farrah could do it, was capable of doing it, and she also wanted, and she spent like the money that Farrah made because she wanted to see if their father would actually like get up and do something and, you know, provide for them and take care of them. I also want to point out that some people have said that the riddle that Farrah has to solve is the answer is obvious. Second time reading it, don't see how it's like super obvious what the answer to the riddle is. Oh my god, I just don't understand riddles. Okay, so what I want from book 2 is that I need for Reese to explain himself. I need for Reese to explain things that he did in this book and said in this book, and honestly apologize for some of the things that he said to her and explain why he did and said those things, because I do think that some of the things that he said and did to her was unacceptable to put in the least. So I need like a very clear and like a good explanation as to why he acted that way in this book. So yeah, that's what I'm from book 2. I'm gonna leave this update like this now because I feel like my camera is overheated or something, but I'm gonna leave it at that, and I'll get back to you once I'm gonna start the second book, and then just like talk a little bit about my feelings and thoughts before jumping into book 2, but I'll do that a little bit later today. Real quick though, because I completely forgot about this and I had to mention it. The first time I read this book, who else imagined the worm, the giant worm in the first trial to be like the giant worm from that one SpongeBob episode? I'll put a picture here because I definitely imagined it that way. Hey, so I'm here to do my first update of A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. I just finished part 1, so I'm currently on page 135, chapter 14. So I'm about to start part 2. So I wanted to do an update, my first update on book 2, since I just finished part 1. Okay, so plot wise, so far what's happening in the spring court. Let's start with the spring court. There's like things happening, like Tamlin keeps like having to like go and like fight creatures. I think I don't really know, because I don't really know, because he's also not really telling Farrah what's going on. He's just keeping her like in the house, like hidden, and I'll get more into that later. Then in the night court, we know what we do know. What I do know so far is that Reese feels like there's a war that's about to brewing, and that's pretty much all we know. Well, I keep saying we. It's pretty much all I know so far about what's going on with that. Now let's talk about, because I'm still here trying to figure out what people love Reese. I'm not saying I'm team Tamlin either. Right now I'm like neutral. I'm neither. I'm just here trying to figure out like what's happening. But in the beginning, let's start with Reese. In the beginning, I still feel like he's doing the same thing he did in book 1, which was he's like concerned about Farrah, but then he's like doing it in a way where like he shows his concern, but then he says something that is like wait, what? it undoes like the nice thing that he's like trying to do or whatever. And then he also keeps mentioning about like him not liking the Spring Corps, but then he's not really giving much detail as to why he doesn't like the Spring Corps, why he doesn't trust them. And I'm like, if you want me to be on your side, you need to explain to me why I shouldn't like the Spring Corps, you know? I need details. Oh, and then with Feyre, we know that she somehow, when in the first book, when all the High Lords like brought her back to life, we know that she has gotten a little bit of each of their powers, but we don't know yet all the powers that she got from them. And Reese is the one who tells her this, I'm pretty sure. But Tamlin doesn't. Let's talk a little bit more for Tamlin. Tamlin doesn't want her to like learn what these abilities are that she absorbed from the different High Lords and how to like use them and control them. He just wants to keep her locked up in the house because he's afraid like that someone's gonna, I don't know, like kidnap her again, torture her. He's traumatized. Everybody is traumatized, but nobody's like, mainly Tamlin and Feyre are traumatized, but they're not really talking to each other about why they're traumatized. Feyre only keeps telling Tamlin, oh, I feel trapped, I feel trapped. And Tamlin, when he hears this, there's this whole scene where he like destroys like a room, and then she like protects herself with one of the abilities that she got from one of the other High Lords, and then he like he's like, I'm sorry, and then he's like, he does like calm down on the Mart of Centuries, I think it's called, that are following her, like keeping her safe. He does calm down for like a little bit, but then like a chapter or two later he like undoes it again, just because I feel like he's just paranoid. And he couldn't, in the first book, he couldn't really protect her from everything, so now he's like overdoing it. Okay, so I feel like people talk about the whole scene where he like destroys the room while she's in it, and I don't hold that too much against it, because I feel like that was out of his control. I feel like he just like, from everything that's going on, and getting his powers or his power back, I think he doesn't know how to control his powers or his emotions, just because he didn't have those powers for like 50 years. So I don't really fault him for that. What I do fault him for is, you know, physically trapping Feyre in the house. Even after she like keeps telling him, I feel so trapped, I need out, instead of trying to find like a solution where it works out for the both of them, he just traps her in the house, making her even more trapped. And that's when Reese, at a safe distance, because that's to keep the rules, takes down the like shield that Tamlin puts on the house, and Moore, I think it's his cousin, gets Feyre out, and also she like put like this whole like black darkness around her because she was like pretty much panicking. Also, let's talk about the whole fact that Feyre keeps waking up from nightmares, and she wakes up from these nightmares, and then she goes in the bathroom and throws up. And the fact that Reese, not even being in the same court, but like they're physically like with the tattoo, they're like bonded or like tied together, so he can feel her emotions and everything's going on with her. But Tamlin, literally sleeping next to her, doesn't hear or feel when she wakes up and like goes to the bathroom to throw up. But then he also has like fairy hearing, so that should wake him up. I don't know. But yeah, Feyre and Tamlin is complicated. They're both going, because Tamlin also has a lot of nightmares and whatever. They're both going through a lot, but they're not dealing with it in the way that they should. Especially, I was gonna say especially Tamlin, but they're both just like not dealing with it well. But then again, but like Tamlin can't, I don't think that Tamlin can help Feyre either, like get over, or like help her like move on from what happened to her, because he's still dealing with what happened to him, you know. So I just feel like they shouldn't be in a relationship together, because they both need to heal, and they can't help each other heal until they themselves are healed, you know. So yeah, that's very complicated. I just, because obviously I've seen spoilers for this series, so I obviously know that Feyre ends up with Rhys. I just hope that there's like a clean break between Feyre and Tamlin, and it's not like a cheating situation, you know, because that's not right. But yeah, Tamlin is dealing with everything that he's holding everything in, and it's not talking to Feyre, and he's like not dealing with anything in a healthy, productive way. And Feyre really needs someone to like help her, you know, like come into these new powers. But yeah, like I keep saying, their relationship is complicated. Yeah, I really don't feel like they should be in a relationship right now with each other, because they both need to heal, and they can't help each other because they're not communicating with each other. And to me, I feel like Tamlin is not ready to communicate also, especially because there's obviously something happening in the spring court that he's not telling her anything about. He's just keeping her in the dark about everything, which if she's gonna be living there, like, she should know, you know. I don't know, it's a whole hot mess with Tamlin, but at this point in time, I don't completely fault him. I'm not writing him off as like this horrible human being, a horrible fairy, you know. I'm not writing him off as like a piece of trash of a person, because I don't think that he's so far, except for no, yeah, okay, I'm gonna stick with it. I don't think so far he's done anything that intentionally malicious and hurtful. I think it all stems with everything that he's dealing with internally, and him not knowing how to express himself and how to deal with it in a healthy way. So I'm not completely faulting him. Like, yeah, he needs to figure his stuff out, but I'm not completely faulting him and writing him off as like this horrible piece of trash of a character just yet. I still have a lot to go in this book. We'll see what happens, but so far I do think that it mainly has to do with all his internal demons and what he's dealing with, and not being able to communicate that with Feyre, and possibly not being comfortable yet, like speaking to Feyre about what he's going through, which again just shows like that they shouldn't be in this relationship together. I do think that between them, a lot of the relationship is just physical, and emotionally, on an emotional level, they're not compatible. So I'll leave it at that. That's my update for part 1. Part 2 is really long, so I'm gonna do 2 updates for part 2. The first update halfway into part 2. So I'm gonna talk, let me just like touch on this, that it has taken me a long ass time to read part 1. Last weekend, I mainly read on the weekends, like Saturday, Sunday, Monday, because those are my days off. Last weekend I wasn't really in a reading mood, so I read like 1 chapter or something. I don't even know. I read teeny bit, and then yeah, it's taken me forever to like read these 130 30 something pages. I feel like, again, like the first time because I DNF'd it the first time I read this, I feel like I'm still in that, like I was then. It was, I don't know, it's just slow so far in the beginning, and it's just taking me a bit to get into it, but hopefully things start to pick up. And yeah, so I'll leave it at that. So this is a long update, and I'll talk to you guys again once I'm halfway into part 2. Okay, I forgot to mention one thing, and I don't want people to come for me. So I forgot to mention, okay, so Tamlin, I did say that I didn't fault him for a lot that he's doing, except for, I said except for like him trapping her in the house, even though yeah, I do feel like that's just his emotions running high and him overreacting. But the one thing, and I was gonna write him off as like a horrible character, or like Faye. I will say that one of the things that I do feel like he can change is the fact when they're having the, I forgot what it's called, where everybody in like the spring court has to come to him and like pay up, give him like give him something, money or something, right? And if they don't have the amount that he needs or like wants, then he gives him 3 days to like come back and give him the money or whatever it is, right? And then he said something to the effect, because like Feyre doesn't agree with it. She's like, why are we doing this? Like, we don't need any of this. And then he's saying, that's what like my grandfather, that's what my father, that's what my children are gonna do. That's one situation where I'm like, Tamlin, like, you what? Like, he's just stuck in his like old ways of like how things used to be done in the spring court like years ago. And I'm like, in that situation, I'm like, okay, that's a little tick for the con for Tamlin, because I'm like, yeah, Feyre is right. Like, you don't need any of this stuff. Like, why are you demanding the people of the spring court to bring this stuff if you don't even need it? Like, what is happening? So yeah, before people come for me, I just wanted to like mention that. Hey, for you it's been a second. For me it's been like, I don't know, a few weeks. Honestly, I'm actually not sure when I filmed the last update, but I finally got an update for you guys. I'm halfway into part 2. What's the name of it? House of Wind. Yeah, the House of Wind. I'm halfway into the House of Wind. So part 2 was pretty long, so I'm doing 2 updates for part 2, because it was like, it's most of the book. Anyways, let's talk about what has happened since the last time I updated you guys. Okay, so I have met the inner circle, and honestly I love the inner circle for the most part. Do they have their flaws so far? That I can tell, yes. But I do love how they are together and how they interact with each other. Like, you could tell like they like care about each other and all that jazz. So I do like the inner circle. But yeah, they will have like their flaws, but whatever. But overall I do like them, and I feel like their like banter with each other is what is helping me get through this book a little bit. So for most of part 2, the first half of part 2, I was like, I'm not feeling this. I'm low-key kind of bored. And then I was panicking, to be honest. I was like, am I gonna DNF this again? But I'm going to push through, because I hear that you have to get through the rest of the book, and then I'm guessing maybe the second half maybe is like where things really start happening. So I'm hoping for that. In terms of Reese, I've gotten to one point where he, like, generally I feel like he apologizes to Farrah, not for like the things that he did in the past, but like what he has been doing in this book. And basically I think he, hold on before I give him too much credit. So it's in chapter 27. Oh, so basically he used Farrah as bait. He basically was like, he knew that somebody, if she was left alone, that somebody would try and kidnap her. So he left her alone on purpose to see if and when and if and who would come to like kidnap her. And he was right. Who was it? I think I wrote it on here. Oh, I did not. I forgot who it was. Some creature tried to kidnap her. And he like apologized to her like 3 times. I only highlighted once when he was like, I'm sorry. Oh wait, I think that was the first time. Oh my god, my bookmark just fell out. Which I think that was the first time he said it. Let me see if I could find the other time. Yeah, he said, I am sorry about deceiving you earlier. That was in on page 277. And I feel like my hair just got cut to the left. This is a mess. Yeah, so I felt like he was honestly genuinely like sorry for what he did. And I feel like that's something that he's just been doing like this entire time. He's kind of not telling her exactly what, he's not letting her into anything basically. Like he's done it a few times where it's like he kind of is like manipulating her in a way to do things. Maybe not manipulate, maybe manipulate is not the right word, but he's like, I don't know, he doesn't fully explain things to her, so she can't make like an educated choice without having all the information. And he just keeps like not telling her everything, and then she finds out later and then she's like, what the hell. I hope that makes sense. But I felt like at this point that he was like sorry, and we'll see if in the future if he actually sticks to his word and he doesn't like keep things from her, because I feel like he keeps keeping things from her. And I'm like, just tell me what's happening, what's going on. And maybe she would trust you more if you were to like tell her like straight up like what's happening. Yeah, but then again it's like he doesn't really know her either, but I feel like she needs to know, just be in the know of what's happening. She doesn't like, and I don't like that she's like in the dark about certain things, you know. Okay, so also they went to visit Farrah's family. Oh my god, I didn't talk about this. So they found out that there is this book, I forgot the name of the book, but there's this book. It was split in half, and like 2 queens in the mortal realm are like keeping it safe, but they don't know where they are. So they had to like, they went to Farrah's family so they could like communicate with the 2 queens to find out, they could get some information about where these 2 halves are. And basically they think that Farrah can put the 2 books back together, and then something about the cauldron, and the cauldron, the legs are places and they have to put it back to, I don't know, I need more information about that. But there's something going on with the cauldron too, which I've heard about the cauldron. I know that something happens to a character later on with the cauldron. So yeah, there's that going on. But I feel like they need to hurry up and start talking about that more, and like figuring things out with that a bit faster. I need the pace to just like, you know, speed it up a little bit, you know. Speed it up a little. Okay, what else? Okay, and then was this whole Farrah had this whole revelation about Tamlin, and then I was like, I also, like the page before, had a little revelation too, and I was like, why didn't I see that before? Okay, so I was just minding my own business, right? I was reading, and then she says Farrah is like having like this duel, this fight that Cassian is helping her learn how to fight. Oh, basically she's thinking about how she sent Tamlin a letter saying like, oh, I left on my own, don't come looking for me, basically. And she's thinking about the note that she sent him, and then she's thinking about like, oh, like how did he take that note? And then she's talking about yeah, she said without knowing what he thought, if he even cared that much. No, I knew he'll care. He probably trashed the manor in his rage. And that was when I was like, you know what? He has trashed one too many a room. And I'm like, why has it taken me to this point to realize that that's not okay? That him, like anytime he's angry about something because something didn't go his way, he trashes a room, and he's no longer like under a spell, so there's like no, you know, there's no reason to. Yeah, so that was when it hit me. I was like, yeah, you know what, he has trashed too many rooms, and yeah, it's not okay. And I'm like, why did it take me so long to realize that's not okay? Yeah. And I wrote, the fact that it took me this long to realize that this is fucked up, that Tamlin can't control his temper and trashes the room every time he is angry. Like, why did it take me so long? And then like literally the next page, that's when Farrah has a revelation, and she says, I'm like, oh, maybe this is what happened to me too, because she says, but maybe those things had blinded me too. Maybe they'd been a blanket over my eyes about the temper, the need for control, the need to protect, the rent so deep he locked me up like a prisoner. And then it goes on to say, I had done everything for that love. I had ripped myself to shreds. I had killed innocence and debased myself, and he had sat beside Amarantha on that throne, and he couldn't do anything. Hadn't risked it. Hadn't risked being caught until there was one night left, and all he wanted to do wasn't free me, but fuck me. And again, and when Amarantha had broken me, when she had snapped my bones and made my blood boil in its veins, he just knelt and begged her. He hadn't tried to kill her, hadn't crawled for me. Yes, he fought for me, but I fought harder for him. And then it goes on to say, and he had the nerve once his powers were back to shove me into a cage. The nerve to say I was no longer useful. I was to be cloistered for his peace of mind. He given me everything I needed to become myself, to feel free. And when he got what he wanted, when he got his power back, his lands back, he stopped trying. He was still good, still Tamlin, but he was just wrong. And I was like, girl, yes. That whole part about him, like her fighting harder for him, I'm like, yeah, you know what, you're right, girl, you're right. You did fight harder. He didn't really try that much, if at all. But yeah, I'm like, girl, you know what, yeah, you're totally right. And I'm pretty sure I had mentioned that I felt like they really didn't need to be together, or like that their relationship was more lust than it was actual love. So yeah, so she just came to that realization. It was like she fought, I think she just fought for what she thought she wanted, and now she's starting to see that maybe, I mean, the thing is that if all that stuff hadn't happened with Tamlin, then the spell wouldn't have been broken, and then all these people would still be trapped under the mountain, and Amarantha would still be alive. So, you know, that's just the way that it happened, and I guess like it had to happen. Yeah, some shitty stuff came out of it, but then there was also some good that came out of it, because she was able to break the spell and she was able to free all these people and finally get Amarantha to stop her nonsense in the sense. But yeah, I'm glad that she came to that realization, and that it cleared my eyes too. Her just like finally like saying like, oh, like But that being said, do I like Rhys? Not so much. I'm still not like, whoo, Rhys sand. No, not yet. We'll see what happens as I continue reading, but not yet on the Rhys bandwagon. He has some, like, in a sense, growing up to do. He really needs to like really like make things up with Feyre for me to be like, okay, I forgive you. You know, if Feyre forgives you, I'll forgive. Well, obviously she's gonna forgive him, but he needs to make it very, very convincing as to why I should forgive him, because he has said some effed up stuff, and I feel like he needs to apologize for those things. And if he doesn't, then I don't know. But right now I'm not. Right now I'm not on the Rhys bandwagon either. And I know she's gonna get with him by the end of the soonish in this book, and I'm just like, girl, just like be single for a while, learn to use your powers, learn to be with yourself, learn to love yourself first before you jump into another relationship, because she did fall for Tamlin pretty quickly. You know, sometimes you just have to take your time, you know. But yeah, I've been talking for 19 minutes. I'm gonna stop, and then I'm gonna update you guys again once I finish part 2. Once I read the second half of part 2. So yeah, that's my update, and yeah, I'll talk to you guys again once I finish part 2, whenever that may be. Hey, so I got an update for you guys. Finally made it to part 3. So I just finished part 2, so I'm doing my little update. What is my third update? 1, 2, 3. I think it's my third update, whatever. I'm doing my next update, and yeah. So overall, in this next little part that I read, I'm still a little bit like, why is everyone obsessed with this book? I don't know yet. I'm hoping that by the end, which I don't have that much left, I understand why. But let's talk spoilery things. Oh, okay, first thing. Okay, so there's this line that says, oh, so they went to the summer court. It was Rhys, Feyre, and Amrit, I believe. They went to the summer court so they can get the 1/2 of the book that they're looking for, right? And what's his name? The High Lord Tarquin, the High Lord of the summer court, I think he tells Feyre. He says, and he is notoriously difficult to deal with. He gets what he wants, has plans he does not tell anyone about until after he's completed them, and does not apologize for any of it. And I was like, interesting, because the whole part of he has plans and then doesn't tell anyone until after it's done. That's one of the main problems I have with Reese, is that he doesn't, especially with Favor, he doesn't tell her like what's really going on until after the fact. I feel like, I don't know. But yeah, I sense that from him. Like he knows what's happening, he has a plan, but he may tell like a little bit of what the plan is, but you're not fully like you don't fully know what's going on until like he wants you to know. So yeah, so I'm like, that's interesting that he said that, because I'm like, I see that. If you ever figured out where the half of the book was, they went to go get it, and then Amren and I'm pretty sure it's Amren and Feyre almost died. They almost drowned because the book knew that Feyre wasn't Targaryen. So the book was like a liar. But then they were able to escape, and then they were able to go back to Velaris. They figure out that there was another thing. Okay, but this one made sense. The whole Reese having a plan and it not telling anyone, or like they knew they were looking for the book, right? But then he didn't tell them. I don't think he didn't tell them that it was written in a different language, and it's a language that Amren knew, but she has to try figure out, like relearn or something. And then it says something. Then I think it's something like that. Oh, I thought too that the book might also contain the spell to free you and send you home, if they were the ones who wrote it in the first place. And then he says, I did not tell you my suspicions because I did not want to get your hopes up. But if the legends about the language were indeed right, perhaps you might find what you've been looking for, Amren. Okay, so yeah, he didn't tell them the whole thing. That makes sense of why he didn't tell her, like that it might be able to send her home. But I'm like, see, that's one of the things that I was like, see, that's proof, you know. But then again, that one makes sense. But like some other ones, it's just like, can you just tell me what's happening? If I was like a character, I'd be like, can you just tell me what's happening? I don't like being in the dark. Like, okay, and yeah, we start to see a little bit more, get to see a little bit more through Reese. And then he actually has emotions. Like he said, he didn't like stealing from Targaryen, the High Lord of Summer, and he didn't like hurting his guards. And then he actually does think that Targaryen wants to be friends with him. And then he's starting to, like, you know, say like when he's wrong. He says on page 364, I made a mistake. You know, he's starting to like apologize for things, so that's good. Oh yeah, so they also with the queens, they met with the mortal queens, and they're like, oh, we're not giving you the other half of the book. We've been protecting it for far too long. We're not giving it to you. So then now they were like, oh, the only way we'll give it to you is if you can prove that you're not a complete asshole. I'm talking about Reese. Well, not like, yeah, well, yeah, not complete asshole. Like, you aren't like horrible. Like, show us something good that you've done, and we'll consider giving you the book. So the only way that they can prove that Reese is not a horrible person is by showing them the Velaris, but they can't really do that, so they stole an orb from Mor's dad to show them that way. We also get a little bit more of Mor's backstory and and what her dad did to her. That was before they went to steal the orb. Oh, so this is one thing that I liked. So when they went to steal the orb, I don't know why this was the only way to distract Mor's dad and like the other people that were in what's that called, the Court of Nightmares. was by like having Farrah sit on Reese's lap and like him touching her body, and I'm like, okay. But that's not the part that like, that part I was just like, why was that the only way to cause distraction? Oh, but all right, whatever. Yeah, y'all do you, you know. But it says he apologized in advance for this game. These roles will have to play. So I'm like, okay, at least like she knew that's what was gonna be happening, and he apologized ahead of time. It was like I'm sorry we have to do this, but that's the only way to distract them. But I don't understand why that's the only way to distract them, TBH. Also, Farrah is starting to like spiral a little bit because like in this line she says, another male, I had another male's hands all over me when Tamlin and I were barely. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know if like a full breakup has happened. Like she sent him a letter, but I don't even know if she just was like, it's over between us, you know. I don't think she wrote that. She was just like, don't come looking for me. Well, I guess, you know, if somebody says don't come looking for me, it's just, it means it's over. So maybe just didn't get the hint. Reese does let Farrah know that his whole like backstory with Tamlin, which now makes sense of why he hates Tamlin. I wish I had come out a little bit earlier, but whatever. Basically, Reese befriended Tamlin, and Tamlin knew at some point that he was gonna meet up with his mom. Reese gonna meet up with his mom and his sister. He knew the location. Tamlin knew the location, and Reese ended up not going. And Tamlin's brothers and dad went to that location and killed Reese's sister and mom. So in retaliation, Reese's dad and Reese went to the spring court and killed Reese and killed Tamlin's dad, brothers. Reese's dad ended up killing Tamlin's mom, even though he said he wasn't going to. And then he went to kill Tamlin, but then Tamlin killed Reese's dad. If you kept up with that, you know. So yeah, so now Farrah knows all of that. I think she was a little bit mad that Tamlin didn't tell her like the whole story. Well, she knew. Yeah, he didn't tell her the whole story. He pretty much painted out Reese and his dad to be like the assholes, but Tamlin didn't tell Farrah that. He just said that the night court killed his family, but he didn't say what happened first. And Reese talks about how he thinks that people only look at him as a villain, and then Farrah says that the villain is usually the person who locks up the maiden and throws away the key. And I was like, yeah, facts, true. And you know who did that? Tamlin. Oh, and then not Tamlin. Reese apologizes for kissing Farrah under the mountain, but I'm like, are you not gonna apologize for calling her mortal trash? I'm like, I'm still hung up on that. He called her mortal trash. Did everybody forget that happened? Because I didn't. And I'm like, are you not gonna apologize for that? Like, yeah, apologize for kissing her under the mountain when she didn't want to be kissed by you, but also apologize for calling her mortal trash. What's happening? But I do appreciate that he's starting to like apologize for things, so there's that. This is Farrah again, spiraling a bit. Traitor. Even if I left Tamlin, I was a traitor. I've been gone for 2 months, just 2. In fairy terms, it was probably considered less than a day. Tamlin had given me so much, done so many things for me and my family, and there I was, wanting another male. Even as I hated Tamlin for what he done, how he failed me, traitor. That's page 442. And I'm like, okay, yeah, he did a lot for you, but just because somebody does a lot for you doesn't mean you should stay with them. And they also shouldn't lock you up. You know, against your will. And yeah, I don't think she should feel sorry, because yeah, because even though he did do a lot for her, that shouldn't be like holding her back from like actually being happy, because he did do nice things, but he also did things that weren't so nice. Lucian finds Vera. They have a little altercation. She tells him, don't touch me, and he's like, oh, but like Tamlin is like freaking the fuck out, and she's like, well, I don't care. Well, she doesn't say that. He was like, it's like really bad. Lucian is like, oh, it's really bad, and she's like, no, I don't want to go. So there was that. Some people have been tracking Rhys. Anytime that he uses his magic, they know where he is, so he can't really be using his magic so much. But then when Feyre and Rhys are like flying about, they get attacked, ash arrows, poisoned, and yeah, she ends up finding him, and she is able to cure him, but she has to like catch a surreal so she could find out how to cure him. And while she was doing that, the surreal was decided to say, you know, if you want to speed up the process on healing your mate. And she'll say, what? My what now? And he's like, your mate. She'll say, wait, what? So again, she now knows that Rhys is her mate, and that he knew and didn't tell her. So yeah, so she freaks out. She goes and finishes healing Rhys, and then questions him, and she's like, how long have you known? And she finds out that he knew for a long ass time, but didn't want to like I'll read the line if I can find it. Oh, I'll go back to this, but like, okay, no, I'll read this first. Okay, so this is one of the lines that made me, this is before she confronted him, before she found out that he's her mate. She's talking when she's taking out the ash arrows out of his wings. So she's like distracting him, telling him a story about like how she would paint. She painted different things for each of her sisters and for herself. And then he asked her like, oh, what you paint for her yourself? And then she was like, oh, I painted the night sky. She's like, it didn't really make sense because I didn't go out at night. And then she's like, she says, I wonder if even in my despair and hopelessness, I was never truly alone. I wonder if I was looking for this place, looking for you all. And then like later on, Rhys says, it was the line that was like, okay, maybe Rhys isn't as bad. This is the line that did it for me. He says, I was looking for you too. That's the line that did it for me. And I was like, okay, I don't know how that did it for me. I was like, okay, I like you a little bit more. Now let's go back to the whole mate thing. He says the reason why, which makes sense of why he didn't tell her. Yeah, she's because she says, why didn't you tell me? And he says, you were in love with him, you were going to marry him, and then you were enduring everything, and it didn't feel right to tell you. And I'm like, yeah, why would you tell someone, oh yeah, you're my mate, but you don't know it, like they're still in love with somebody else? Like, why would you put yourself in that situation? Like, I feel like it's better for the person to come into the realize it on their own, like, oh yeah, like, well, I don't know if that's the same thing as like being in love, or it was like a feeling knowing that somebody's your mate. So maybe that doesn't make sense, I don't know. But if it's like the same thing as like falling in love, like I feel like it's better than for the person to realize that on their own instead of somebody just telling you. But he did say that he did want to tell her for a while, but it just didn't, there was like no right time to tell her. And then he considered that one night they had at like this like inn, but then she was stupid and told him like, oh, I just like one but I forgot what she said. She said something stupid, like I forgot what it was. It was something dumb, but basically she made him feel like she wasn't looking for anything serious. So like, why would he tell her at that point like, oh, you're my mate, by the way, you know? Okay, I'll read this part. I don't know what it is, but okay. So on page 496 it says, you think I liked hearing you wanting me only. Oh, this is what I was talking about. I highlighted it. The dumb thing that she said. So it says, you think I liked hearing you wanted me only for amusement and release. You think it didn't drive me out of my mind so completely that those bastards shot me out of the sky because I was too busy wondering if I should tell you, if I should just tell you, or wait, or maybe take whatever pieces that you offered me and be happy with it, or that maybe I should let you go so you don't have a lifetime of assassins and high lords hunting you down for being with me. And I was like, yeah, I actually agree with him on this. Because like, yeah, like, why would you want to tell someone, oh, by the way, you're my mate, after they just said like, oh, I just, whatever it was that I just read after they said that, you know? So yeah, that's the part. She's still angry with him, and she asked Moore to take her somewhere far away. But I know chapter 55 is approaching, and I know that's when things get spicy, so they're gonna make up soon. That's what I'm trying to say. So yeah, that's the update I have for right now, and then I'll update you guys again once I've actually finished the book. Oh, I'll talk about this really quickly. How I heard the line where he says like, oh, this room isn't big enough for me to bed you, and people made it seem like the line was like, oh, so swoony, whatever, but I'm like, that room really was so small. So I don't know, they made it, the way that people said it, like, that I've heard it before, people made it seem like it was like a big room, and he's like, no, I need more room than this. But no, the room was tiny, so it made sense, you know? Anyways, yeah, that's my update. I'll see you guys again once I've actually finished this book. Hey, what's up? Sorry you hear noise in the background. Okay, so I'm here to tell you guys that I finally finished A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J Maas. Obviously, this is what this video is about. So yeah, let's do a little thoughts and feelings about part 3. It's called The House of Mist. The House of Holbein. The House of Mist. Okay, I'm gonna start off by saying that I kind of love the inner circle. They all, especially Moore and Cassian, because they're sassy, you know? Okay, so yeah, so the last thing that happened was that Feyre found out that Rhys is her mate, and she got mad because he didn't tell her, and he knew for a while. So yeah, so she is not like that cottage thing. She painted a lot. She painted like everything, like the whole cottage. I think it's a cottage, I don't know. But yeah, but then Rhys goes up to like explain things to her, and a lot of it made sense. And he explains to her like what happened, his thought process when he, in that part in A Court of Thorns and Roses where they're in like the dining room and he shows up, you know, that scene. So he says, and I decided that I had to scare Tamlin. I had to scare you and Lucien, but mostly Tamlin, because I saw how he looked at you too. So what I did that day, his lips were pale tight. I broke into your mind and held it enough that you felt it, that it terrified you, hurt you. I made Tamlin beg, as Amarantha had made me beg, to show him how powerless he was to save you. And I prayed my performance was enough to get him to send you away, back to the human realm, away from Amarantha, because she was going to find you. If you broke that curse, she was going to find you and kill you. So yeah, he goes into detail about like why he did certain things that he did. He still didn't explain why he had to go immortal trash. But in general, like everything that he's done, it explains things of why he seemed like a douche in the first bag in the first book. But again, still didn't say why he had to go home more to trash. I'm like, was that necessary? Was that necessary though? You could have gone around it a different way. But yeah, he also explains to her like everything from like the beginning, not the beginning of time, but like the beginning, like before Farah went through the wall and was in Prithian. He like talked to her, like told her about like things that happened before she got there and like what was happening while she was there. Yeah, so he explained things. Communication, you know. And then she like, I guess she forgave him, yeah. Like, and she understood like why he kept the whole mate thing a secret, because you know was under the impression that she probably still had feelings for Tamlin, and like that's still fresh, that just happened. So yeah, he didn't want to tell her and like, I guess, be rejected if she didn't feel the same way towards him, or like be like, I guess, I don't know, be like a rebound or something, because like literally that just happened. But yeah, and then as everybody knows, then chapter 55 happened, and let's just say they consummated their mate-ism-ish thing. Also, I underlined the line in 544 where Mor says, "Welcome to the family, Farah." And then she Farah thanks, and I thought those might have been the most beautiful words I've ever heard. Yeah, I was like, that's cute. And also Amren, because Reese is like, now that we settled that, Reese drawled from behind me, "Can we please eat? I'm famished." Amren opened her mouth with a wry smile, but he added, "Do not say what you were going to say, Amren." And I thought that was funny, because you know, it just shows that that they could play with each other, and like they're close, you know, the inner circle. Okay, so they meet with the mortal queens again to discuss getting the other half of the book. And obviously they're like, Reese shows them and like the little orb thing, Valaris, and then they're still like, we'll think about it. But then I think it was the Gold Queen, she kind of like betrayed the other queens and left the other half of the book like underneath her seat so they could find it once they left, and they did. So now they have both halves of the book. Also, let's just talk about this little Cassian and Nesta moment, because I know obviously in Court of Silver Flames they get together. So it just says, Cassian says, "I will stand on that battlefield again, Nesta arching on. To protect this house, your people, I can think of no better way to end my existence than to defend those who need it most." Then it says, I watched a tear slide down Nesta's cheek, and I watched as Cassian reached up a hand to wipe it away. That's page 553. And I was like, oh, I love that little Cassian Nesta little moment. And then, okay, and then after that, that's when they discovered that the other half of the book is underneath the chair. And then it says, there was like a note with it. I read your letter about the woman you love. I believe you, and I believe in peace. I believe in a better world. If anyone asks, you stole this during the meeting. Do not trust the others. The sixth queen was not ill. So yeah, they said that one of the other queens wasn't there because she was sick. That was a lie. I'm like, who am I, Maury?
Herman, that was a lie.
That was a lie. That was page 555. So then they come up with the plan. Well, Amren has to like decode that half of the book, and then while she's doing that, it takes a while, and then an attack happens, and there's like, I think a bunch of different like Arters, that's what they're called. They'll like attack Valaris, and then that's when they know that the queens betrayed them. Also, the queen that helped them is dead now, because they found out that she helped them, she gave them the other half of the book. And then in that, also in that like little battle, Feyre like killed one of the adders, like the main one, the one that killed Claire in book 1, and there's something else I can't remember now. Yeah, also during when Feyre was like fighting the adder, and she was like trying to like help save Valaris, so she brought Rhys out of the like mind connection, whatever that they have, and then I guess she thought that he was gonna be like upset with her that she did that, and then she didn't go to the townhouse, and that instead she was trying to save Valaris. So he was like, page 574, his brows furrowed. Then he buried his face in filter. How could I scold you for defending my people? I want to throttle you, yes, for not going back to the townhouse, but you chose to fight for them, for Valaris. He kissed my neck. I don't deserve you. Okay, yeah. So that just shows like the difference between him and Tamlin, which I'll get into Tamlin like later on. Okay, so then this is when they are like, okay, we need to go to the cauldron and do whatever it is they have to do, whatever. But one of the main things that Amren says, and she specifies, do not put the two halves of the book together. Like, don't do it. Something bad will happen. Or I guess like they have to like wreck the cauldron. So when they're like deciding like who's gonna do what, who's gonna go where, Rhys is just like, Rhys tells Faye like, you do whatever you want. If you want to go, you go. Like, you do what you have to do. Okay, and then they like break into like the palace in Hybern, right, what the king is, and Feyre decides put the books talk to her, and she is like, oh, I should put the books together, and that's why everything goes to crap. 586. Amren had been wrong. Separate, their power was fleet, not enough to take on the abyss of the cauldron's might, but together, yes, together, the spell would work. When I spoke it, I would become not a conduit between them, but rather their master. There was no moving the cauldron. It had to be now. Realizing what I was about to do, more lunge for me with a curse, too slow. Yeah, that's when things went to shit. Jurian showed up and he was like, hey bitches. Not really, but and then eventually the king shows up. Oh, I forgot his name. The other person in the inner circle. He was injured, and then this is when I was like, oh, okay, now I get why people hate Tamlin, because it says Tamlin is there, and then it's like the king of Hybern from his throne said from his throne, we made a bargain. I give you over, Feyre, I give you over, and he agrees to let my forces enter Prythian through his territory, and then use it as a base as we remove that ridiculous wall. And then lower it says, but Tamlin didn't lower his hand. Oh, yeah, he was like, come to me, Feyre. She was like, no. Yeah, it says, but Tamlin didn't lower the hand stretched toward me. I'm taking you home. And I was like, bro, take a hint. You're embarrassing yourself. And then it's on 595, it says, Tamlin, you weren't well, Tamlin snarled. He used that bond to manipulate you. Why do you think I was gone so often? I was looking for a way to get you free, and you left. And she's like, I left because I was going to die in that house. And then he like doesn't listen to her, and he's like, come home with me now. And I wrote, ew. And it was at that moment that I realized, I'm like, okay, people have a point of why they hate Tamlin, because that's disgusting. In 597, Feyre is like, I'm not going with you. I spat at Tamlin. And even if I did, you spineless stupid fool for selling us out to him. Do you know what he wants to do with that cauldron? I'm like, yeah, you're a freaking dumbass. Like, did you really think that was a good idea? Like, he was that desperate to get Feyre back that he would like risk like the whole world. Basically, I'm like, dumbass. And then what sent me was this. Feyre's like, I hissed at Tamlin. If you bring me from here, if you take me from my mates, I will destroy you. I will destroy your courts and everything you hold dear. Tamlin's lips thin, but he said simply, you don't know what you're talking about. Lucian cringed, and I'm like, same Lucian, because it's like, you don't know what you're talking about? What? And then we find out that Feyre's sisters have been captured, and yeah, that's the end of that chapter. And then the mortal queens show up, and they're like, that they want to be immortal, and that's what the king of Hybern promised them. And then if they go into the cauldron, they could become immortal and be young and beautiful forever, right? But they want to test it out because they're like, we're not gonna take that risk. So they throw Elaine into the cauldron, and then she comes back out, and she's a fairy now, and then it's discovered. Oh wait, I'll say that for later. And then they throw Nesta into the cauldron, but she fights it. She's like, no, this isn't happening. But they throw her in, and then she flips off the king, and she went down fighting. She comes out the cauldron, same thing, fairy, and she's mad about it. And then once Nesta is out of the cauldron, rather, she's pissed. Lucian is holding Elaine, and Nesta separates them, and then they like look at each other, Elaine and Lucian, and then he's like, you're my mate? And I was like, I didn't realize that when I was reading, I was like, oh, I think that eventually like they get together or something, but I didn't realize that they were each other's mates. So yeah, that happened. Oh yeah, and then a little bit earlier, Tamlin realized that, and everyone realized that Feyre and Rhys are mates, but Tamlin doesn't give a shit. And then eventually Feyre pretends that she like remembers, and like the spell that Rhys had on her broke, and that she remembers now, and that she knows that she's in love with Tamlin, and she's like, get me away from them, whatever. But then she's speaking to Rhys through her bond. She's like, get my sisters out of this, like I have to do this. Eventually he's first like, no, but then he's like realizes like what she's doing, and that she like broke something so that they could get away. So then yeah, they take Rhys and the inner circle take her sisters, and yeah, this one was talking about that he didn't give a shit about them being mates. Tamlin snarled, 613. Tamlin snarled at him, I don't give a shit if she's your mate. I don't give a shit if you think you're entitled to her. She is mine. And one day I'm going to repay every bit of my pain she felt, every bit of suffering and despair. One day perhaps, when she decides she wants to end you, I'll be happy to oblige her. The fact that she was like, she's mine, big bitch. Oh, and then the king, he tore the bond between Rhys and Feyre, like the deal they had like with the tattoo. But they didn't realize, but he doesn't realize that he couldn't break the bond, like the fact that they're mates. He can't break that bond. And then once Rhys and the inner circle get back to the townhouse, they tell Amren wasn't there, so they tell her like what happened And then it's revealed that like the night before, Reese and Feyre went to a priestess to have Feyre become the High Lady of the Night Court. So unwillingly, Tamlin let in an enemy into his court, and she's now a spy for Reese because they have that connection and they could communicate with each other. So she's like now a spy, and then they're gonna take him down, you know. And then Reese says, we're going to war. And then the last chapter is from Feyre's perspective, and one of the things that she thinks in her mind, this is page 622. She's like, and you sold us out, sold out every innocent in this land for that. Oh, so you could have me back. I'm like, yeah, you're stupid, bro. Like, really, you risked so many people just to have Feyre back. And then she also thinks like, she says, help lead you in the wrong direction, help bring you and your court to your knees, and take down Jurian and those conniving traitorous queens, and then tear Ianthe into tiny pieces and bury them in a pit no one can find. And then Tamlin, stupid, he's like, Tamlin scanned my face and finally nodded. We'll start over, do things differently. When you were gone, I realized I've been wrong, so wrong, Feyre, and I'm sorry. And then she thinks, too late, too damn late. I'm like, yeah, too little, too late. Like, no, that you fucked up big time, my dude. And that's the end of A Court of Mist and Fury. Honestly, I gave this 4 stars. The ending is what brought up the rating for me. Maybe it's like a 4.5, because I felt like a lot of it was like kind of slow, and I'm just like, let's speed things up a bit. But like part 3 is like things that the plot really started to like get going, and a lot of things were happening and things were getting revealed, and that's the kind of like pacing and like fantasies that I like. It's just like a lot going on like constantly, and you're just like, oh, what is happening? That's the kind of books that I like. So part 3 of this book is what brought up the rating, but not so much because, like I said, it took me a while to get into it. But yeah, what I liked about it, I do love the inner circle. I think they all have like really interesting personalities, and I like their dynamic. I now understand why people hate Tamlin. It's yeah, I understand now. Yes, he's a disgusting person. But when it comes to Reese, I'm not like, oh my god, yes, Reese, love him. No, but I understand why people like him a lot. But I'm not like, I'm not a Reese girl right now. I'm just here for the vibes. I'm not a Reese girl. So there's that. But yeah, that's the end of A Court of Mist and Fury. I have A Court of Rings and Ruin on deck, ready for me to start. I probably will start it like later tonight, just because I finished this last night, so I need a little break before I hop into A Court of Wings and Ruin. And also I decided I'm only gonna do this video. Is not gonna include A Court of Silver Flames. I'll do a separate video for that, but I really feel like this video is gonna be super long. So, and A Court of Silver Flames is like 800 pages, so I think it's better to just like only include the books that are from Feyre's perspective in this video, and then I'll do a different video for A Court of Silver Flames. But yeah, that's it for A Court of Mist and Fury, and the next clip will be once I start A Court of Wings and Ruin. Hey, So I have an update. Court of Wings and Ruin. I finally started it. Farah is in spring courts, and she's like, I don't want to say playing games, but she's playing them, you know, because she's trying to make it seem like, oh yeah, like the night court reads, they took me, they altered my memories or whatever, made her think that she wanted to be in the night court, whatever, right? So the prince and princess from Highburn show up at the spring court, along with the dude that came back to life. Yeah, the guy that came back to life, along with him, right? So they are going to each place on the wall that has like a gap, so they can see like which one they should use to bring down the wall. And okay, so far obviously Farrah doesn't trust them. Tamlin, I guess he trusts them, I don't know, because he made the deal with the king to get Farrah back, even though she didn't want to come back. The part where I am, Farrah and Lucian just escaped because the prince and princess like showed the true colors to them and realized that they had been poisoned, and that with this poison, like, their magic was going away. They fought them off, they killed the prince and princess, so now they're like trying to get away to get to the night court. Farrah was gonna go alone, but Lucian was like, take me with you. Like, I want my mate back, who is Elaine, Farrah's sister. So that's part where I'm at. Let's talk about how Tamlin is still being annoying and an idiot. Ianthe is disgusting. Like, yeah, we see, like, we have seen it, like Reese has said, like how like gross she is, how she like manipulates men into, like, I don't know if it's women too, to BH. She manipulates people into sleeping with her, and we see that like firsthand in this book. Her she tied up Lucian and was gonna do things to him against his will. Let's just say that. So yeah, that was disgusting. And Farrah made her like went into her mind and made her like break her own hand, the same hand that was like touching Lucian. So like anytime she like looks at her hand, she remembers that it's wrong to like touch people and like do like intimate things to people against their will. So yeah, that happened. And yeah, Tamlin is being stupid. So I think that's where I'm gonna leave off this update. Only 96 pages, and I'll do a little bit more detailed update my next update. So yeah, that's what I have for right now. I'm watching Allie from Heart by Quarter. She's doing a 24-hour readathon, and she's like live streaming it like the whole 24 hours. So I'm just like doing reading sprints, watching that, and hopefully I get a lot of this done today. So I feel like a good amount of the updates for this book is gonna be today. So we'll see how things progress. Hey, what's up? So I have another update for you guys. Okay, so remember my last clip, I was like, oh, that was doing a 24-hour readathon, so I was probably gonna do like a few updates the same day. Yeah, that didn't happen. I only did one update. I didn't get that much into it that day. Well, I didn't get that far into it where I got to my second update marker, you know. But now, last night, I finally made it to my next update marker, so I'm gonna update you guys on what we have been doing here this whole time. Okay, so, which is quite a lot. Oh my god, I'm already so hot. It's half of part 2. Curse breaker. Okay, so I think the last thing where we left off was when Farrah and Lucian escaped from the spring courts and are trying to get to the night court. They are currently in the Autumn Court, which is Lucian's court, which I believe he's not allowed back because of things that happened in the past. So Lucian's brothers ends up finding them, and then there's like a lot of like running and trying to get away and all that stuff, whatever. But eventually eventually they do get back to the night court. Okay, so what's happening at the night court now is basically one thing is that they are trying to get a meeting between all the High Lords to see how many of them will join the night court in trying to take down Hybern in this war. Oh, also, I think they said that people are like starting to leave the Spring Court. For what reason, I don't remember. I guess, I don't know, they're like not trusting Tamlin anymore. I'm not sure. Well, it makes sense because he, like, you know, decided to team up with Hybern. Also, now that Lucian is in the night court, he's starting to like see and learn like that a lot of things that he's been told and taught were a lie about them, mainly about the night court. And then there's this other instance where this character called the Carver, he also said that he had heard of the Carver, but he always thought that was a myth, and the Carver is actually a real being, because I'm not really sure it's a person. Okay, so when Feyre gets back to the night court, they're like she's like tells them like what she learned in the Spring Court with like the with the brother and sister trying to figure out where the holes are and on the wall. And they talked about how if the cauldron was powerful enough, it should be able to take down the wall on its own, but it's not. So they're trying to figure out like what's going on with the cauldron and all of that. Okay, so with Cassie and Nesta, they're being well, Nesta's being, I feel like Cassian knows something, or he like feels something, which I know they end up together in the last book. So and then yes, I feel like he knows something or sees something, but Nesta is not about him, you know. But she's pissed off because she doesn't want to be Faye, and now she's away. And then Elaine, she doesn't do anything, she doesn't eat, she doesn't like move or anything, she just sits in the same chair and just talks about how like she was supposed to be getting married to this other dude in like less than a week. Okay, so then this is other whole plot point happening where with the Carver, how they're want to get him out for some reason, which I'm not 100% I don't 100% remember why they're trying to get him out, but they're trying to get him out. And he was like, no, I'm here in this cell for a reason, I don't want to leave. But then he was like, eventually he was like, oh, if you give me this mirror, then I'll help you with whatever it is that they need help with. So they go to the Court of Nightmares, I believe, and Moore's dad is like, oh yeah, you can have it, but any person that tries to get it and like sees into it, they go mad or something bad happens. Then also in that meeting, a lot like went down because what's his face, one of Lucian's brothers, Eris, he happened to be at the meeting too, and Reese knew that he was gonna be there. And basically his role is, Eris's role is that he's going to convince his father, the Lord of the Autumn Court, to go to the meeting that they're holding for all the High Lords, right? But the thing is that Moore was also at that meeting, and he's the dude that she was supposed to be engaged to, well, that she was engaged to, that her parents were gonna force her to marry. And then she did the whole thing where she slept with Cassian to like taint herself, so then she won't have to marry Eris. But then I'm not sure what else that he did, but she like, I just don't remember what he did, but I know it was something bad. And she was taken off guard by him showing up to this meeting, and she was upset with Reese because he didn't warn her. Page 279, I'm not sure who said it, but oh, also before I say that, Moore's dad agreed to help them, but only if the people from the Court of Nightmares can go up into Valaris. So Reese agreed, but he was like, there's gonna be like stipulations. I think that's the word. But Moore's really upset. She's like, well, and again, it's page 279. She says he's saying like, oh, like I'm getting word out that no one to like serve them, like all the businesses, so like serve them or like give them like a place to stay, and that way so he's like, they're not gonna be welcome here because all the business, I'm not gonna like give them anything. Moore says he'll still destroy it, and then I'm not sure who says this line, but they say you should have warned us, and then Reese says I should have, and I just wrote, I was just like still on his same bullshit, not telling them the plan about letting people from the Court of Nightmares to Valaris. And that's literally what he's been doing this entire series, is he comes up with a plan, but he doesn't tell the rest of the group like what's happening, and then they're taken off guard. And I feel like this is the worst, just because like Moore has such a, well, first for her dad, because he was awful to her, and then what's his face, Eris, like this is the biggest like fuck up I think he's done, like not warning them, especially Moore, of what was happening. Then in the next page in 280, this is Amren. She's like, Amren said to him, you're a sneaky bastard, you always have been, and likely always will be. But it doesn't excuse you, boy, from now warning her. Now where those two monsters are involved. Yes, you made the right call, played it well, but you also played it badly. And then says something like shame dimmed his eyes. I'm sorry. The words to Moore and Amren. And I'm like, thank you, Amren, for calling him out, because he's literally, he just keeps doing that. If they're supposed to be a team and a family, like, why would you not trust them to know, to tell them what exactly you're thinking when you're planning, and just have them go into any kind of situation blind, and then have to like, Moore was obviously uncomfortable, but then she had to like try to control her feelings and her emotions. So yeah, I'm like, thank you, Amren, for calling him out, because he keeps doing this. And I'm like literally, if you guys are a team, then you're supposed to trust them with what you're thinking and what you're planning. Like, I don't understand. But I'm so glad that someone finally called him out. Also, we get Amren's backstory about how she got out of the prison, and how she like took someone's I'm not sure if it's somebody else's like, but I guess so. She took somebody else's body to be able to escape the prison, and how she says she doesn't remember what her real name is. Then we get a little like scene with Elaine, and how she's talking, how she says, I can hear her crying, and they're like, who? I saw young hands. This is page 286. I saw young hands wither with age. I saw a box of black stone. I saw a feather of fire land on snow and melt it. And then she says, it was angry, Elaine said quietly. It was so angry that something was taken. So it took something from them as punishment, which I haven't mentioned yet, but they have come to the conclusion that Nesta must have taken well, definitely that Nesta took something from the cauldron. They don't know what, but they know that she took something from the cauldron. So then this line, I'm like, oh, so because Nesta took something from the cauldron took something else back. So we don't know what these items are yet. And everyone thinks that Elaine is going mad, because she's like, just like saying these things and these different things, and they don't know what she's talking about. So then eventually they get like a healer to look at her, and they're like, oh, she seems pretty normal, broken but normal. Okay, and then in page 290, Reese finally admits that he fucked up. He says he's talking to Farrah. He said, you asked me in the library, he whispered, why I'd rather take all of this upon myself. Tonight is why. Seeing more cry is why. I made a bad call. And I'm like, yeah, you did. Try to find some other way around this shithole we're in. But I feel like if he had just told more and warned her, things could have played out better. He probably could have still gone along with what his plan was, but it's the whole being blindsided part that is like, dude. Okay, so like the healer that saw Elaine, Nessa asked her, is there something wrong with her? And then the healer's like, I do not like the word wrong. Different, perhaps, changed. She tells Lucian, who is Elaine's mate, to see like what he can find out, because she couldn't, like, I guess like Elaine has some sort of walls up that that the healer couldn't get through. So she doesn't know exactly like what's going on with her, like in her core. So she says the mating bond, it is a bridge between souls. So she's telling Lucian to try and see if he can get past it and see like what is going on with her. Nesta's obviously not happy about that because she hates Lucian. Well, she hates any fairy. Hates the whole situation that she's in, but especially Lucian. Okay, and then I highlighted this on page 301 because I feel like Elaine isn't just like spitting on like random crap. I think everything that she's saying is really important and it's gonna come back later. So one of the things she says is twin ravens are coming, one white and one black. So yeah, I just highlighted that because I'm like, I really don't think that everything that she's saying is just like completely random. I think there's more to it. That's the last thing I've highlighted. Okay, so overall thoughts so far on this book is, I find it, I don't know, I'm finding it okay so far. There are some things that are interesting that are going on, and but I'm like, can we start speeding things up and get to the point? I find some of it a little bit boring, whatever. Yeah, I'm not like completely like sucked into the story and like really invested in the characters and in what's going on. There's some times where they're explaining things and I'm just like spacing out. Yeah, there's some times where I'm like, they're saying things, explaining things that's like happened in the past or whatever, and I'm like spacing out. So it's not completely like capturing my attention, so there's that. Also, one of the things I forgot to mention is that Farrah is trying to learn how to fly. She like somehow can like create wings for herself, and yeah, she's trying to learn how to fly. And that's I think that's all I'm gonna say for like right now. And yeah, so I'm gonna keep reading today, and then once I get to my next update marker, which is gonna be the end of part 2, I'll talk to you guys again. Hey, so I almost forgot to do an update. So I finished part 2, so we have to do an update. Hopefully I remember things because I haven't read since last night. It's the next day, by the way, the next night. Okay, so yeah, let's start off with the attack in the library. So Nesta and Farrah, they went to the library to look for something. And basically while they're in the library, they are attacked by someone, and they find out it's these ravens. And like I told you guys in the last clip that Elaine was like talking about these ravens, these twin ravens, one black, one white. I think that's why it was referred to. Yeah. So on page 319 it says, the white-haired one smiled broadly as they approached. We're the king's ravens, his hair flying, eyes and talons, and we've come to take you back. And then I was like, I knew it, the ravens that Elaine talked about. Obviously, like, Elaine knows things. And further down in the page it says, you took something from the cauldron girl, the king wants it back. That was why the cauldron couldn't shatter the wall, not because its power was spent, but because Nesta had stolen too much from it. So yeah, so basically with Nesta, they're trying to like find a way for her to fix the holes that are in the wall so that they can't take down the wall, because the only way that Hybern can take down the wall is because of these holes that are in the wall. If there are no holes, they can't take it down. So they're trying to find a way to close up these holes. Okay, so on page 322. Oh, okay, yeah. So here we find out what happened to the mortal the mortal queens after everybody left in the end of book 2. So it says on page 322, but the cauldron, oh, it knew that something had been taken from it. Not sentient, but it knew. It was furious, and when the young queen went in, and then a little bit further it says, oh, it gave her immortality, it made her fae, but since something had been taken from it, the cauldron took what she valued most, her youth. They signared again. A young woman went in, but a withdrawn crone came out. And then that's also something else that Elaine had been like talking about, how she saw it. Says it here, I saw young hands wither with age, and it was the young queen that she saw. And then it says, yeah, twin ravens are coming. Elaine had known, sensed it, had tried to warn us. So then later on they are chased by these ravens, and they run to, well, Feyre gets Nesta away, and then Feyre like runs to where this monster is in this pit in the library, and she makes a deal with it, and basically it just wants company, this creature that's down there. So she's like, yeah, and then so the creature starts off the killing of the ravens, then Rhys finishes them off. Okay, so then on page 329, this is chapter 32. They asked Nesta, what did you take? And she says, I don't know. The words were barely more than a whisper. Even Amryn can't figure it out. So yeah, so she knows that she took something from the cauldron, but she's not aware of what it was that she took, which is interesting. I think I read a spoiler about what it was, but I don't remember what it is anymore. Okay, so then Elaine talks about how the queen might come, and they're like, oh, what queen? Because they need help. Feyre is like, the young queen, she's like, no, not that one, the other. And then it says the queen with the feathers of flame. And then like right at the bottom of this page, that's when they realize that Elaine is a seer. Okay, so then in the next chapter they figure out what queen this is. So it's the 6th queen, the one that they said in book 2 that she's sick, you know, but she wasn't really sick. She was like cursed or something. Oh, also, okay, this just thing, Feyre is like, oh, Nesta, you took something, but maybe the cauldron gave something to Elaine. Okay, and then this is what happened to the 6th queen. They sold her to some darkness, to some sorcerer land. She shook her head. I can never see him what he is. There is an onyx box that he possesses, more vital than anything, save for them, the girls. He keeps other girls, others so like her, but she, by the day, is one form. But day is one form, by night human again.
Human again.
Ah, human again.
Human again.
Yeah.
A bird of burning feathers, I said. Then it says, I don't know, I hear her screaming with rage, utter rage. Can you sense where she is? There is a lake deep in the continent, I think, hidden amongst mountains and ancient forests. Elaine's throat bobbed. He keeps them all at the lake. Okay, so then let me speed this up a little bit. So they're like, oh, we need to go find this queen, right? But then they all have like pretty much all of them has to go to this meeting, and they all need to be whatever. But basically Lucian volunteers himself to go into the mortal lands and try to find this queen so the queen can help them. Okay, and then a little bit later on, Hybern attacks the summer courts. The whole gang goes to help them out, and they kill a bunch of people. Okay, so then eventually they go to the meeting, and they all think that Tamlin's not gonna show up, but lo and behold, he shows up. But they're like iffy about trusting him because, you know, he aligned himself with Hybern, but then now people don't trust Tamlin like in his court. So people he doesn't have like an army or whatever, and stuff is happening. And then in that first whole meeting, Tamlin was being a little ass and saying a bunch of like rude things to Feyre, which I'm like, I know you're like upset that she left you or whatever, but like that doesn't give you the right to like say like all these rude things about her. I highlighted a bunch. I'm not gonna say. He was just spewing a lot of things. Okay, let's go back a little bit. This is before the meeting when 370 Torkin is talking about I heard Tamlin took you, talking to Sash about Feyre. I heard Tamlin took you. I heard the spring court fell, collapsed from within, its people in revolt together. The people are not happy with Tamlin in his own court. I mean, the meeting, it was basically the big part of it was Tamlin being an idiot and saying a bunch of like nasty things to Feyre about Feyre. Well, Feyre being there. And also what's his face from the autumn courts saying a rude comment about Moore, and then Azriel attacked him, and I'm like, good for you. What's happened in the meeting? Oh, and also Nesta wasn't originally going to go to the meeting, but then she was like, no, I want to go. So she's at the meeting as well. Okay, so one of the things that came out of the meeting was that someone named Nuon, they found an antidote for Fadebane, which is the poison that Hybern put in Feyre and Lucian's food when they were in the spring court, to poison them, and it takes away their magic. So Nuon, I think it's a she, finds a antidote for Fadebane. Then Tamlin gives them a bunch of papers of like Hybern's plans and their next moves, but they're like, how do we know we could trust you? And then basically they like sleep for the night because the meeting took too long, so they're gonna have a part 2 in the morning. During the night, there's some conversations, and we find out that Lucian's father is not Lucian's father. The High Lord of the Autumn Court is not his dad. His mother had like a secret affair with this other Fae. I forgot his name, but I don't remember. But yeah, we find out that Lucian's dad is somebody else. Also Baron, who is the High Lord of the Fall Court, the Autumn Court, he pretty much agreed to nothing, which is to be expected from him. So yeah, Lucian's dad is Helion, I think I say how you say his name. So yeah, they figure that out. It isn't said out loud, but they put 2 and 2 together. And also during the night, Nesta gets this like feeling that something's wrong. So she tells Feyre, and then Reese, I think Reese, Azriel, and Cassie, and they all go like searching around to see like if there's something's like amiss, and they don't find anything. But then we find out the next day in part 2 of the meeting, she still feels like something is really wrong, and then she eventually like throws up, and then this like big like explosion happens, and they figure out that Hybern has brought down the wall. So now they had to like come up with a plan like really quickly to like stop Hybern from whatever it is they're gonna do, and which I feel like it's pretty much gonna be just like butcher everyone, try to take over the world. But yeah, but now the wall is down and they have to deal with that. And because the spring court is so close to the wall, it's like right there, Harkin from the summer court said he will take Tamlin's people. He's like, your people are innocent, I'll take them, and they could come to like my court and I have space there. So there's that. Okay, so then they're talking about trying to save like the mortals that are by the wall. So Elaine says that her fiance's father has this estate, like he's been planning this for a while, where it has like really high walls, there's like stores like in there, and there's like tunnels. So she's like, we can tell people to go there, but they're like, oh, that's risky, because he has spent pretty much his whole life learning how to like kill Fae, because he hates Fae. So they're like, that's really risky. And also they have hounds bred and trained to hunt you, detect you. But from what I can remember from last night, I think they agree to do that, or like they're like thinking about it. And then also Feyre goes back to the creature that is in the pit, and she's like, I want to make another deal with you. And basically now the creature is like, oh, okay, what I want is I want to see like the stars and the moon or whatever. So then Feyre agrees to like make, but the creature is like, oh, but this is still my home, I don't want to go outside. So she's like, okay, I'll make like, they're gonna make like a window so the creature can see the stars and the moon and the sun and everything. So, and in return, the creature is going to go into battle with them and slaughter as much people from Hybern. And that's pretty much where I left off. So I'm on part 3, which is called Hi Lady. So okay, overall thoughts right now, I like that now things are starting to pick up a bit. Yeah, and I'm intrigued to see like how the story progresses, and how, because this is technically the last book, this original like part of the series. Like the next book is just like a short story from like, I think like Winter Solstice. So it's not anything like, I don't think plot wise is anything important in that book, but I'm still gonna read it. So I'm interested to see how like things like wrap up in this book. Yeah, so this update has been going on for a while, so I'm gonna end this here, and then I'll update you guys again. I think I'm doing 2 more updates for part 3. So once I'm halfway into part 3, I'll update you guys again. Wow, that was loud. Hey, so long time no update. Well, for you it's been like 2 seconds, but for me it's been a good amount of days. The last bit that I read, which was like the half of part 3, I read a good amount of days ago, but then this weekend was busy. Well, the last few days have been busy because it was my sister's wedding on this past Saturday. It's currently Tuesday, so there was a lot going on, so I hadn't been able to film my update for the first half of part 3. So here we are, gonna filming that now. Okay, so let's just hop right into it. Okay, so we're gonna start off with the whole going to the well, not the walls down, we're going to the human side of the world, and are going to Elaine's fiance's house to try and convince him and his father to let in to their like little like community. It has like high walls and whatever, people in to like save them from the war, so people won't die pretty much. Yeah, so they go over there and things go down. So okay, so they try to like make themselves look as human as possible, because obviously they hate fairies, especially Elaine. They don't want her to for them to know that she's a fairy, because she's supposed to be engaged to homeboy over there and he hates fairies, so they want to convince them to like let people into their like little community, right? So they're like making Elaine look like she's not a fae. But this is Grayson, which is Elaine's fiance, that says on page 492, 493. I would be inclined to believe you, he said quietly, if you were not lying to me with your every breath. And then it says on that you could come to my house and deceive me with your fairy magic. Then later on it says, but she isn't mortal, is she? Nolan sneered, which is the dad. No, I have it on good authority that it was Elaine Archeon who was turned fae first, and who now has a High Lord's son as a mate. And then a little bit later on the page, but we opened for our weapons as Jurian strolled into the guard house and said, I did. So Jurian is with them and has told them like everything that's been going on, basically. So page 496, it goes on to explain what Jurian is doing there, and it says more is like, you mean to imply that you've been working to help us during this? So basically Jurian says that he has been working against Hybrids the entire time, and that he's been trying to help like Feyre and all of them this entire time too. Oh, bookmark fell out, but it's okay. And then later on in this page it says, because Tamlin ran right back to Highburn after your meeting ended this morning, right to their camp in the Spring Court, where Highburn now plans to launch a land assault on Summer tomorrow. And I was like, yo, that's crazy, because literally at the end, pretty much at the end of the meeting, Tarkin, who's the High Lord of Summer, was like, yo, Tamlin, your people didn't do anything wrong, so they can come to my court to be safe. And then you find out that Tamlin goes back to like the Highburn camp, and they're planning to launch an attack on Summer after Summer offered to help his people. Like, what the heck is happening, you know? So I was like, yo, Tamlin, like, what the heck? Okay, so now we're gonna go back talking about Elaine and her fiance Grayson. I felt so bad for Elaine. Like, she didn't ask for this, and then I mean, he didn't ask anyway, so it's good that he broke up the engagement, but the way he did it was just so messed up. He basically was like talking about how Elaine belongs to, what's his name, to Lucian. He's like, you belong to him, and she's like, I belong to me, but my heart belongs to you. And then it says, Grayson's face hardened. I don't want it. Ew. And then he tells her to take off the ring. He's like, take off that ring. She's like, no, take it off, take it off. And then page 500, he's like, I am not marrying you. Our engagement is over. I will take whatever people occupy your lands, but not you, never you. And then Nesta comes in, and it says, Nesta stepped forward, then another step and another, until she was in front of Grayson, faster than anyone could see, until Nesta smacked him hard enough that his head snapped to the side. And then she says, you never deserved her. Yes, girl. Nesta snarled into the stunned silence as Grayson cupped his face and swore, bending over. I'm like, yes, girl. Yeah, he never deserved Elaine. Like, what the heck? Okay, so they help in the Summer Court like fight off the attack. Okay, so yeah, so at a certain point they're all like fighting or whatever, trying to like figure out like where they're going, trying to figure out there's like a big battle going on. Let's just leave it at that. Okay, right. So they are doing like pretty badly. Well, like they were doing good, like Feyre and all of them, but then they started to like lose wind pretty much. So Feyre convinces, because Mor wasn't fighting because she was like protecting Feyre, Elaine, and Nesta. So Feyre is like, oh, they need your help more, go, like it's fine, we'll be safe, we'll stay here, we'll be safe. But Feyre had an ulterior plan, is that how you say, whatever, and she actually left Nesta and Elaine to go find the Serial to try and get information on something, I don't know, on like how to like win or whatever, right? And get more information about the cauldron. Oh yeah, that's what it was. It was to try and figure out where the cauldron is, because they need to figure out what the cauldron is, right? And the Serial is like, even I cannot see it. This is page 528. Even I cannot see it. And then she's like, you can see everything but that. And then the Serial is like, he uses magic to cloak it. Magic far older than I am. And the Serial is like, you have one already who can find Hybern. Oh yeah, so they're not looking for the cauldron. Sorry, they're looking to find out where the other like major part of the Hybern army is. And the king of Hybern was hiding the army using the cauldron. So by finding the cauldron, they can figure out where that other major part of the army is and take them by surprise. That's what's going on. Sorry. So yeah, so then the Serial is like, you already have one who can find Hybern. And then Feyre is like, Elaine says she cannot see it. See past his magic. And literally I wrote, Nesta, stupid. And then the Serial is like, Nesta, use Nesta to track the cauldron. I was like, stupid. Like, obviously it's Nesta who can find the cauldron. Hello. Also, she asks the Serial about the mirror beginnings and endings, and then the Serial is like, only you can decide what breaks you, curse breaker, only you. And then they are attacked, an ash arrow hits the Serial, and then they see Ianthe and some guards like have attacked them, and pretty much Feyre runs away, and she basically goes, because they're close to the Weaver's cottage or whatever, she goes in there, is quiet, and then when Ianthe and the two guards go in, she like escapes, and they are murdered by the Weaver. Wait, who was it? Somebody someone saves Feyre and gets her back. I think it was Asriel, and takes her back to the camp, and Cassian is not doing good. He was the way they said it, he was an idiot and like stepped in front of a sword and got severely injured, but like the healer was able to like save him. But yeah, and Moore is upset with Feyre because Feyre didn't tell her where she was going. And I'm like, honestly, Feyre is not becoming Rhys, because Rhys, I mean, it's a little bit different but kind of the same, how Rhys like never tells people what his plan is. And then Feyre pretty much did the same thing, where she got Moore to like go away and didn't let her know what her plan was. And then she's like, Moore's like really upset with her because she was like, I didn't know where you went, I didn't know what happened to you, like how could you do that? She was like really upset about it. And I'm like, yeah, like Rhys does that too, where like he doesn't tell people what his plan is. And I'm just like, just tell people what your plan is. You're supposed to be like a unit, like a team, a group together. Like, just tell them what your plan is. Like, come on now. Okay, so then later on, this page 552, Nesta is able to like find the cauldron and figure out what the other part of the army is. But then later on that night, they kind of like hear, only like Feyre and Nesta can hear it. I think they like hear the cauldron or whatever, and then they're like, something is wrong, what is happening? And then they figure out that Hybern took Elaine, or the cauldron like summoned her or something. So then Feyre and Azriel go to get her back. There was so she goes like disguised as Ianthe to try and get Elaine back. There was a whole thing. She was able to find her, and when they were trying to escape, they the people at the camp like realized what was happening. They were attacked. Azriel was hitting the wings. They were able to escape. Then there was a little Tamlin moment. Yeah, on page 576 it says, a roar definite me made my head ring just as one of the hounds was thrown off me. I knew that roar. I knew. A golden-furred beast with curling horns tore into the hounds. Tamlin, I got out, but his green eyes narrowed. Run, he seemed to say. So he like helped them out, and mainly Feyre, to like escape. So it's like, whose side are you on, Tamlin? Was he always on the side of Hybern, and he and by going back to their camp, like, was he still on their side? And then once he saw Feyre in trouble, he decided, okay, I'm gonna go against Hybern. Like, I don't know what's going on in Tamlin's head, but I'm like, bro. But yeah, they were basically, moral of the story, they were able to escape. Okay, so then page 599, 600, Amren is pretty much like, yo, we need to get to the cauldron. Yeah, she was like, we need to get to the cauldron, girl, all of us. And then it says, you found another way to stop it? Tarkin asked. Amren's sharp chin bobbed in a nod. Even better, I found a way to stop his entire army. This is page 599. And then page 600, which is the beginning of chapter 67. It says, rather than nullify the cauldron's powers, we would nullify the person controlling it and his entire host. And then so I guess they're like now planning like to go to the cauldron, but then Feyre decides, and again, being stupid, I feel like, she's like, not telling anyone what her plan is. She goes to the court, yeah, the court of nightmares, to get the mirror of beginnings and endings. Yeah, and I literally wrote, Feyre goes to get the mirror or Boros without telling anyone. That's just like, I guess that's why Rhys and Feyre are like good together, because they don't be telling nobody anything that any other plans. I think that's like my main like issue. I'm like, can y'all, like, literally, you are supposed to be a team and you call each other like family, but you don't tell like everyone else like your thought process or what your plan is, and then like literally put yourself in danger. Like, what is happening? Okay, so that's the update. Feelings in general, I'm liking now that the pace is like, you know, like speeding up. We're like, because we're reading it together. Well, maybe I don't know. But I don't know how many pages I have left. I'm on page 604 and there's 699 pages, so whatever that math is, that's how much I have left. Not too much left. I'm thinking I'm gonna start reading a little bit later today and try to like wrap this up finally. I'm still gonna read, after I finish this, I'm still gonna read A Court of Frost and Starlight, but then that will be the end of this very long video. That's what's happening, and I'll update you guys again once I've finished A Court of Wings and Ruin. Yeah, so last night I finally finished A Court of Wings and Ruin. Freaking finally. Okay, so we're gonna do my last update for this book, okay, which is the second part of part 3. Okay, so we start off with Feyre going to get the Ouroboros mirror, if I'm pronouncing that right. Yes. And then we find out why the Bona Carver had her get the Ouroboros mirror. He basically was like, I wanted to know if you were worth helping. So that's pretty much why he wanted her to get the mirror. And then we have like Rhys gives a little speech before they go into like this final battle. And he like says something to each of them individually of like what he's learned from them, and what he what it's just okay. So for Cassin, he says, I would not have known the true depths of strength and resilience, of honor and loyalty. Asriel, if I had not met a shadow singer, I would not have known that it is the family you make, not the one you are born into, that matters. I would not have known that what it is to truly hope, even when the world tells you to despair. For more, he says, if I had not met my cousin, I would never have learned that light can be found in even the darkest of hells, that kindness can thrive even amongst cruelty. For Amren, if I had not met a tiny monster who hoards jewels more fiercely than a fire drake, my own power would have consumed me long ago. And then for Feyre, he says, and if I had not met my mate, I believe that everything happened exactly the way it had to, so I could find you. And that's page 612/613. Yeah, and I thought it was like really cute, like him just like knowing that they could possibly die, and he just wanted them to know like what he has learned from each of them. So we know that Feyre got Bryaxis to help them fight in this final battle, as well as the Bone Carver, but Rhys came in with like a little like secret, I don't know, but he got the Weaver to join them as well. So now they have like a good amount of like creatures to help them out. Okay, so then in this battle they have a lot happens. Okay, so on page 623, 3 armies, one bearing the burnt orange flag of Baron, the other the grass green flag of the Spring Court, and one of mortal men in iron armor bearing a cobalt flag with a striking badger, Grayson's crest. So we have the fall court, Tamlin, and then Grayson, who was Elaine's fiance, show up. And then I was like, whose side are they on? I'm confused. Yeah, so then it says that they were running and winnowing and blasting for Hybern's ranks. So I'm like, oh, so they're on like our side, you know, like the good side. Like, I'm confused. Yeah, and then it's like they're like Tamlin wants orders, Eris said, who's one of Lucian's brothers. Durian does too. So I'm like, oh, I guess they're helping them. Like, okay. Okay, so then they see like this other, like from like the sea, like this other like part of an army coming. So they think that it's another part of Hybern's army, but then they realize that it's Draken's Legion. This is page 632. And then there's so many ships, 1,000 ships from countless nations, it seems, Miriam's people, but the other ships. Yeah, so, and then they also realize, and then they tell them that some of the ships are led by Bassa, which is the queen they have been looking for, that's under a curse that Lucian went to look for. And they're like, oh, Lucian found her. And then they were like, oh no, this other dude found her. And they realize that it's their dad, like Feyre, Nesta, and Elaine's dad is the one that found Bassa, and that's why he's been gone for so long. It's because he was looking for the queen, because he knew that the other mortal queens were gonna betray them. So that's why he's been gone for so long. And he has 3 ships. Want to take a guess? what the names of his ships are, which is on page 634. Of course, it's the Vera, the Elaine, and the Nesta. And I found it interesting that the Nesta is the one leading like all the ships. It says, "I'm leading the charge against Highburn, flying over the waves, unyielding and without an ounce of fear, the Nesta." And I'm like, that like, you know, like associates, it's similar to like how Nesta is like as a person, you know. So now Nesta, she convinced them to use her as bait to try and get the King of Highburn away from the cauldron, so that Amren and Feyre can get to the cauldron and nullify the cauldron. And Cassian is with Nesta. A whole bunch of crap goes down. Yeah, so this whole thing where Amren, I'm not 100% sure what happened, but it seemed like Amren like made like Nesta made Feyre like not be able to move away from the cauldron, so she's just watching like Nesta and Cassian get like pretty much their asses handed to them, like being attacked by the King of Highburn, and she can't do anything about it. And Cassian is really hurt, and it's page 652, which I found. I was like, Cassian, this is Cassian. "I have no regrets in my life but this, that we did not have time, that I did not have time with you, Nesta." She didn't stop him as he leaned up and kissed her lightly. "I will find you again in the next world, the next life. And we will have that time, I promise." So yeah, so it seems like at this point, it seems like the King of Highburn is gonna kill Nesta, because she's like not getting away from Cassian. She's like trying to get away because she's like trying to help Cassian. And then right when you think that the king is going to like kill Nesta, here comes Elaine. And it says, page 653, "Elaine stepped out of the shadow behind him and rammed Truth Teller to the hilt through the back of the king's neck as she snarled in his ear, 'Don't you touch my sister.'" So the whole blade that she has, Truth Teller, belongs to Azriel, and he like never lets anybody touch that blade. And the fact that he like let Elaine have it, but then Nessa's actually the one that finishes off the king, and like she like twists like the blade in his neck and like somehow like decapitates him. Crazy. Beheaded. Okay, so on page 655, I was like, dang girl, because Nesta, it says, "Nesta didn't seem to care as she bent over, as she took up his fallen head and lifted it in the air and stared at it, into Highburn's dead eyes, his gaping mouth. She did not smile, she only stared and stared and stared." And I was like, dang girl. Okay. Oh, I forgot to mention, I think that was before that happened. Yeah, the King of Highburn killed their dad. Forgot to mention that. Okay, let's just like start to speed this up. Basically, Amren did the thing to Feyre, because I honestly don't really remember why. It was something like that she has to go, I think they both had to go into the cauldron and like undo like who she is, but then the things that she's not gonna remember any of them. And then when she comes out of the cauldron, Amren is the one that's gonna be able to like kill off the rest of Hyburn's army. They do that, she kills everybody off. That's pretty much how they win the battle. Then here on page 662, it says, "The cauldron could never be destroyed. We had been warned because our very world was bound to it. If the cauldron was destroyed, we would be too." And later on, they try to find a way to, wait, first off, they get the cauldron they put it back together because it cannot fully be destroyed. But then like later on, they try to find a way to whatchamacallit, to in a safe place. And that's when they get what's his face, the one with like the hidden like lands or whatever, to hide it there. Oh, before all of that happened, it was Reese and Feyre, the one that got the cauldron to put it back together, and Reese died. And I was like, wait, what? I've never heard like this spoiler that he dies, but I wasn't like, oh my god, because I knew it was gonna be fine. But he did die. And then all of the different High Lords brought him back. They did the same thing they did with Feyre in book 1. And they thought that Tamlin wasn't gonna do it, but then he was like, this is page 670, "Be happy, Feyre," he said quietly, and dropped the final kernel of light onto Rhysand, and then he was fine. Then while Rhys was like dying, he was able to see Amren in the cauldron and was able to like bring her back to like the living side. So on page 672 he says, "Someone fished out dear Amren before she catches the cold." So he was able to bring Amren back because she also died. But yeah, then later on they have a meeting to discuss if they should bring the wall back. I don't remember if they decided to bring the wall back, but they had a meeting. They talked about a lot of things. Page 691, I like that Elaine is starting to like in a way come back to life, because she was like very broken when she was thrown into the cauldron and then came out as Faye. And you could tell, but like then now she's like has like a little bit more humor. Yeah. So like on 691 she says, "The new Amren is even crankier than the old one," Elaine said softly. And then it says, "I burst out laughing. The others joined me, and even Elaine smiled broadly." And then on 692 Feyre says that she had because she was like, "I know that even though Tamlin doesn't want to speak to Lucien at the moment," she was like, "I know Lucien's gonna see Tamlin again and talk to him." So she wrote Tamlin a letter, and it was short, and it just said, "Thank you. I hope you find happiness too." And then it says, "I wished him well. I truly did, and hope that one day, perhaps he would face those insidious fears of destructive rage rotting away inside of him." Yeah, and that's pretty much it. So like thought wise, I'm gonna give this, I gave this a 4. I gave all three main books 4 stars, but they're all 3.5 to me. They I didn't like hate these books, but I'm not like in love and like this is amazing. So 3.5 stars, like they're fine. I feel like the main things that I loved about this first 3 books, I still have to read A Court of Frost and Starlight. That's gonna come a little bit later in the same video, but you know, what I did like about this is the whole inner circle. I think that's what brought made it a little bit more interesting, was the inner circle. So I think I just like books with like a bigger, especially fantasy with a bigger cast. So yeah, 3.5. Didn't love these first 3 books, but I didn't hate them either. And I do like the Feyre like finally saw like the like she acknowledges like the bad things that Tamlin did to her, and I just feel like the whole thing, it was kind of like helping in like not super healthy, I don't know, I just felt like it was done well, where she is not like on her side, on Feyre's side, like where she's not like angry at him anymore. and she like truly like wants him to be happy. When it comes to Tamlin himself, I feel like he still has like a lot of growing to do, because I think he is still very angry at Feyre, even though he did help her out a few times in this book. There's still a lot of anger in him, and he does need to fix that. And like I said, Feyre says that too, where she hopes that he can like heal those inner demons in him, and is able to find happiness. So yeah, when it comes to Rhys, I think he's fine. I'm like, first of all, he now apologized for calling her mortal trash. Second of all, he's just okay. He's not like anything like amazing or anything. Yeah, I think he's just okay. I think I do really like Cassian though, and I think I do like Nesta. She did a lot of like fucked up stuff, but I feel like there's reasons behind her actions. Was it the best way to like go about the way that she was feeling? No, a lot of the things that the way that she reacted to it wasn't like the best way to react to it, like to do. But I feel like there's like a reason behind everything, and yeah, I think I'm gonna leave it at that for the time being. I'm gonna give a little bit, possibly give a little bit more like in-depth thoughts once I finish A Court of Frost and Starlight, which I'm gonna start in like 30-40 minutes something like that. We'll see what happens. But yeah, 3.5 stars. All the books so far, 3.5 stars. So yeah, I'll talk to you guys again once I finish this one. Hey, so A Court of Frost and Starlight. I just finished it. Okay, and guys, I'm so excited to finally be done with these books. This video has taken like 3-ish months, so I'm so glad that I freaking finished this book. Yeah, I'm ready to be out of this world for like a little bit. Okay, anyways, let's talk about A Court of Frost and Starlight. So obviously this is just a short story. This takes place during the winter solstice. So they're celebrating that. But I feel like there's a bit, I feel like, of setup for A Court of Civil Flames, because we get to see like how Nesta is doing after the war, and how she's not doing great. She has turned to, first of all, she's like pretty much isolated herself, and she's turned to alcohol and sleeping with men to numb herself from everything that happened during the war, and just in general, like what has happened throughout the series. So yes, I feel like it's a bit like of setup for A Court of Silver Flames, which is from Nesta's perspective. I'm not sure if there's any POVs from Cassian, but there is definitely from Nesta's perspective. So yeah, so it's a bit setting up for that, as well as just like what's gonna happen next after this war, what's gonna happen. They talk about it briefly in this, about what's gonna happen with since the wall is gone, and how the fairy world and the human world are going to not interact, but how they're gonna like work with each other post wall is down, you know. But okay, so there were like a few like things that were touched upon with more going because of the whole deal that Reese made with the Court of Nightmares, letting them like come to Valaris. He's given her the chance or the choice to I'm not sure where, but to like go somewhere else while that happens. So there's that. Cassian, I feel like there's something going on with Cassian. I'm not sure what, but we found out a bit about his past and about how his mother died. So there's that. And then I'm very intrigued to see what's gonna happen between Elaine and Lucian, because I kind of feel like she has some sort of connection with Azriel, but Lucian is her mate. So I'm not sure if she's gonna end up with Azriel, and if they're gonna try and like get rid of the mating bond between her and Lucian. Don't know, and I'm not sure when we're gonna find that out, because I don't know if they touched on that in A Court of Silver Flames. I'll find out once I read that book. Also, Ira, she started this program with this, I forgot her name, with this other artist to help children that went through a lot during this war. Could just like express like they pretty much is for any like child that went through a lot, but they don't know they can't express themselves, how they're feeling and how they're doing verbally. So they can paint about it. Reese got Feyre, I think it's land, because he told her to build them a house for their family. So there's that. And then there's talk about Tamlin. Tamlin is a hot freaking mess right now. He's like, first of all, he kicked out Lucian, like officially kicked out Lucian from the Spring Court, and and I'm not sure what's going through his mind, if he's starting to like feel like really guilty about the way that he acted, or he's just upset because everyone turned against him because of his actions. Yeah, because he's completely alone right now. So yeah, I'm not sure like which one it is. If it's just like I said, if he's just completely broken because people left him because of his actions, or if he is starting to realize that what he did, a lot of things that he did was wrong, and he's like feels shitty about it. Not sure which one it is. But there was like a lot of like fun, goofy, funny moments between the whole inner circle. There was so many funny lines of them just like being themselves with each other. I don't think I'm gonna read any quotes or whatever, because there were like quite a few. I don't know if there was any that I would want to like read out loud. I mean, one of the funny parts was page 98 when Cassian throws on the ground an ornate red rug in the center of the foyer. He throws something on the ground, and Feyre's like, what the hell is that? And then he's like, and she's like, you call that a decoration? And he's like, and it says, he smirked, a heap of pine in the middle of the floor is a night court tradition. And then she's like, Feyre like just crossed her arms, she's like, funny. And then like later on, there Cassian and Feyre are decorating for winter solstice, and Mor comes in. First she's like, it's cold as hell, more cold. And then she's like, and who the hell let Cassian and Feyre decorate? And then later on, the next page, 101, Cassian says to Amren, you look like an angry snowball, because she has like a big coat or whatever. Also, I found it hilarious that as Kaz and Reese, they have this tradition every like winter solstice, and they don't tell Fira what it is. Like Reese doesn't tell her, and then eventually like Mora lets her into what this tradition is, and they are like dressed in like their Illyrian siphons, and they're legit just like at like the little cottage, like having a snowball fight. I found that hilarious. So yeah, there was that too. Because you'd think that maybe they were like, I don't know, like fighting or whatever. And the way that Morris says it, let me see if I can find it, because it was hilarious. She's like, it's page 170. They're having a snowball fight. 3 Illyrian warriors, I said. The greatest Illyrian warriors are having a snowball fight. Moore's eyes particularly glowed with wicked delight. Since they were children, they're over 500 years old. She's like, they're like they're 500 years old and they're having a snowball fight. Like, what's happening? They do this like every year, and like they can't use magic. They're just having like a good old fashioned snowball fight. So yeah, I found that funny. But yeah, that's it. That's what I'm gonna say about that. I have read in this video A Court of Thorns and Roses, A Court of Mist and Fury, A Court of Wings and Ruin, A Court of Frost and Starlight. Annotated a good amount, and I'm finally done. This, like I said, this took like over, I think a little over 3 months, and I'm so glad that this is finally over. Let me know in the comments if you've read the series, what your thoughts were about it. Okay, I think I said this before. They're all, I rated them all 4 stars, but they're 3.5. They're not like anything amazing, but I didn't hate them either. It was an interesting time, and I am kind of excited to go into A Court of Silver Flames probably in a few months, and see how the story continues. Learn more about Nesta, learn more about Cassian. So yeah, so we have it here. Whew. This was a journey, a long journey, and yeah, I think that's all I have to say. I'm so glad that I'm finally done, at least with this, the major chunk of it. So that is all I have for this video. Thank you so much for watching. This is a long one, I'm so sorry. Hopefully this was at least a little bit entertaining, and since this is spoiler filled, you can say whatever you want in the comments, but don't say anything spoiler about A Court of Silver Flames, because I still have to read that. So yeah, again, thanks so much for watching, and let me know if I should do any more videos like this, like this style, this reading like a series or like multiple books by the same author in one video, and just like talking like spoiler things about it. Yeah, again, thanks so much. This is the end, and I'll catch you guys here next time on Yari. Hearts, folks. Bye.